Headed clear by Kvaratskhelia. Vecino! That is absolutely wonderful. On it goes for Mancini. Mancini's effort! Who saw that coming?
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Serie A Spotlight. This is Season 2, Episode 28, and we're your hosts Matt
and Jake,
here to discuss Matchday 25 of Serie A with three massive games taking place in Napoli, Lazio, Roma, Juve, and Fiorentina, Milan.
A low scoring weekend, but the vibes were immaculate as always. We had our goals of the week. For the first time ever, we've had two goals of the week. It was Vecino and Mancini. Vecino's goal was probably a bit better, but Mancini, when you take into consideration the stage, the fact that he hadn't scored a goal in how long?
2 years it was.
2 years. Oof.
Yeah, and I mean, you see the Roman Empire rising back like that, and I mean, it's just time to put a little Serie A spotlight on them. Vecino getting the victory, getting the winning goal rather against league leaders Napoli. Twice Mancini getting the winning goal against Juventus, a club that they have struggled to beat so much, and you just see what it means to the Roman teams over there.
Yes, Vecino has proved to be the unlikeliest big game player that I can think of. He scored for Inter in the Champions League against Dortmund. He scored in the Milan derby. He scored important goals against Napoli. He scored in the Europa League for Lazio this season as well. He's a big game player, man. A weird one.
Yeah, really weird one. And Mancini, to be honest, as well, had one hell of a performance over here, obviously getting the winning goal. Aside from that, he also got Moise Kean sent off after just 40 seconds. So absolute shithousery. He really was the man of the match in that game. So 2 big game players, 2 big victories, 2 goals of the week. Fuck it and fuck you.
There we go. Fortunately, this week was a low-scoring week as we put a bet that 3 games would have under 4 goals scored. And those 3 games were Sampdoria, Salernitana, Atalanta, Udinese, Spezia, Verona. Now, I believe all these games ended 0-0.
They did, man. They did. We knew it.
Yeah. We've been so cautious with our bets lately, bro. We just refused to bet on an outright.
But look, man, we learn. I mean, we tested the waters. Well, we dove into the waters that hadn't quite been tested yet. And now we know I'm not going to bet on an outright until I'm absolutely convinced of the outright. I don't want to check the odds before I make a decision.
Yeah.
Because checking the odds before you make a decision fucks you up. Like Fiorentina on shit form, they're against Empoli though. They're at home. Sure, they have a bit of injuries, but 2.1. Oh my God, I can't see Fiorentina dropping points yet.
The odds are there to tempt you.
Exactly. So we're learning.
We are. And this goal system seems to be going pretty well. We're on 3 victories in a row. If you want to keep track of our betting journey, please follow us on Serie A Spotlight. On Instagram, you can also find us on Twitter and TikTok to see some of the other content that we post or try to post on a regular.
Exactly. And don't forget to rate us 5 stars wherever you're listening, be it Spotify, Apple Play, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, on YouTube as well now. So wherever you're listening, kindly do give us a rating. You can be honest, but be a bit kind.
There we go. Bro, give them the rundown.
Don't mind if I diddly do, brother. The first game is Napoli 0, Lazio 1. Massive upset there for Napoli. Only their second loss of the season, and Lazio once again proving to be a top team among that top 7. The next game would be Roma 1, Juve 0. A very rare victory for Roma against Juve there historically. Fiorentina 2, Milan 1. Just like last season, Fiorentina managed to get past Milan at home, ending Milan's winning streak. Inter 2, Lecce 0. Not exactly a stellar performance by Inter, but definitely good enough to get them the victory over the newly promoted side. Atalanta 0, Udinese 0. A stalemate, however, there were quite a few chances over there. Torino 1, Bologna 0. A battle for Europe between these 2 unlikely candidates, and a massive win for Juric's men, especially after the loss in the Derby della Mole and Bologna's victory against Inter. Then there's Monza 2, Empoli 1. Great win over there by Monza. Empoli still failing to win since the end of January. Sassuolo 3, Cremonese 2. What was the highest scoring affair this match day. Cremonese almost doing it again. Sampdoria 0, Salernitana 0 in the relegation dogfight. Speaking of dogfights, Spezia 0, Verona 0. Not quite the dogfights we expected there, huh?
Biscotto, bro.
Biscotto.
They share the spoils over there. To be honest, though, they were quite exciting. As you look at the Spezia game, for example, Spezia had the most attempts this match day, so it wasn't boring, at least, you know.
Yeah, no, they weren't boring. I was just hoping to see, you know, some massive moves, but to be honest, everything just stayed the way it was. And I'm like, a little bit blue balled.
These are the games where you see a Kevin Agudelo goal, you know. That's what we want to see in these games. Birindelli goal, you know what I mean? Something like that. But anyway, alas, shall we get cracking?
Go for it, brother.
So the first game we're going to be covering is Napoli 0, Lazio 1. Lazio pulled off the impossible in a packed Stadio Diego Armando Maradona Stadium. There were 54,000 fans in attendance over there. Maurizio Sarri described going up against this Napoli team as suicide. Okay. He loves alluding to these dark themes, doesn't he, Sarri?
Yeah, he's so over the top sometimes, man. Dramatic. Like, relax, really, it's a game of football, brother.
No need to mention death, my friend. So for Napoli, it was their 4-3-3 formation. This was a 4-3-3 against a 4-3-3. We knew that we were going to watch some good football over here. Meret was in goal for Napoli. On the left, there was Oliveira. On the right, there was Di Lorenzo with Min-jae Kim and Rahmani as the centre-back duo. The midfield three was Zielinski, Lobotka and Anguissa with Kvaratskhelia on the left wing, Lozano on the right wing, and the formidable Victor Osimhen up front. For Lazio, it was Ivan Provedel in goal, Marisic on the right, Hisai on the left with Romagnoli and Patrick as the centre-back duo. Of course, Chasale could not make it this game. Milinkovic, Savic, Vecino and Luis Alberto were in the middle with Felipe Anderson on the right, Zaccagni on the left and Ciro Immobile up front. So yes, it was a fucking crazy head-to-head going into this, you know. Lazio have actually changed their ways this season. They seem to be beating the top sides more frequently, and this seemed to be the case today as well. If you look at this team historically, Lazio had lost 5 of their previous away matches to Napoli.
Wow.
So the trend was expected to continue, of course, but it did not. It all started in the 5th minute. It started pretty early on the action when Vecino flicked a header on after a Luis Alberto cross, and it was headed off the line by Di Lorenzo. So that was Lazio stamping their foot quite early in this game. The rest of the first half was quite cagey. There were long-range efforts from both teams, but no one really got close to doing anything. Both sides being quite cautious over there. In the 67th minute, Kvaratskhelia headed it as far as Vecino on a clearance, and Vecino just smashed it first time. Goal of the week. Beat Meret at the left over there. Amazing goal.
Fantastic goal, man. Fantastic goal.
In the 78th minute, this was Napoli's best chance to equalize. Osimhen headed a Kvaratskhelia cross into the crossbar. Provedel saved Kim's rebound, and Immobile cleared Di Lorenzo's header off the line. That was 3 massive chances in a row, like back is squandered, one after the other. And I think at that point, Napoli knew that this was not their day.
Not at all.
In the 90th minute, when you'd think that Napoli would be pressing for an equalizer, it was actually Sergei Milinkovic-Savic who hit the crossbar from a free kick. He scraped it, to be honest. He didn't smack it, you know, but it was still a very good attempt.
Outside of the post.
Yeah, and that was the game. 3 points for Lazio. Brother, what did you make of this game? The big game of the weekend.
I mean, obviously quite a surprise that Lazio managed to get away with all 3 points over here. Not to discredit Lazio, because they have proven to be a very dangerous side among the top 7, which is an area that they had struggled in this season. But they really carried out their game plan to their full potential. They kept that low line, they kept that low block. And for that reason, Gvara failed to kind of assert himself too much. Osimhen wasn't finding the spaces too much, which is something that he normally excels in. And Lazio pretty much managed to tame Napoli in that region. And then obviously a moment of brilliance for Lazio and Vecino, where he managed to get that goal over there. Napoli could have brought one back, but there was all that scrambling on the line and inside the box. Luck did favour Lazio a little bit in that area, but I think if there's a team that deserves to get 3 points against Napoli this season, it will be this Lazio side in this performance.
Yes. A more pragmatic approach lately by Sarri. Usually we know him as like attack, no?
Absolutely.
Now if you look at the statistics coming into this game, Lazio and Napoli had conceded the fewest goals in the first half of Serie A this season.
Yeah.
Lazio have conceded the fewest in the big 5 European leagues in this period, in the first half.
God.
So you look at them, they shut up shop quite well. And I'd like to praise Sarri for his tactical swap over here, bringing in Vecino. Of course, an easy statement to make considering the fact that he scored that beautiful goal. But in reality, he brought him in instead of Cataldi in that regista position in front of the defense. And Vecino does a lot of running. And in fact, if you look at the statistics this match day, you will notice that Vecino was amongst the players who covered the most distance, along with Sergej Milinkovic-Savic. So they worked tirelessly over there. And Lazio as a whole were the team who covered the most distance this entire match day. Napoli were 16th out of 20th. So they just couldn't keep up with Lazio over there.
Yeah, they really managed to overwork Napoli over there. And it's good that you mentioned Vecino coming into the team, because for a big game and for a high pressure game, he is the perfect candidate in that midfield out of the selection that they have. And then with the work ethic that Sergey brought, that Vecino brought, I felt like Alberto brought that calmness. He was capable to slow the game down when Lazio wanted to slow the game down, because one thing you can't have is two teams pressuring high against Napoli, two teams playing with high pressure, and Napoli catching you on the break. So when Lazio had the ball and Alberto had the ball, he was slowing the game down and he was letting Napoli get back into position. No problem, we're going to hold on to the ball over here. And that midfield worked really, really well in that game for that favour. And also off the ball, they were phenomenal.
Definitely. So Sarri has kind of reasserted himself onto the scene now as a top manager out there, particularly with his performances against the big teams in Italy, as we are reiterating. The fact that he can turn Felipe Anderson into the player that he's turned him into, you know, the fact that he takes this Lazio side that lacks investment and actually makes them so competitive. Do you think that this is a long-term project, or do you see Sarri moving on to something a little bit bigger?
No, I don't think Sarri will move on to something a little bit bigger. I think Sarri had his moment in the bigger scene, and that's when he was at Chelsea, that's when he was at Juventus, that's when he had the opportunity to win the Scudetto for Napoli. So I think this is a long-term project for Lazio, and I think Sarri will gladly be around so long as Lazio want him around. I think especially when you see he was sacked from his last 2 jobs, I think the guy just wants to call a place home right now, have a good project, have a good team, and see out perhaps what would be the rest of his career at the team.
Yes, I would agree with you, but it's subject to the club's investment. And Lotito isn't known to invest much in his team, you know, so I wouldn't be surprised if he grows frustrated with that, if results stop coming in, if they miss out on top 4, for example, and then he get, I don't know, man, a Premier League team calling, you know, an interesting project elsewhere, someone comes knocking. I wouldn't be surprised if he were to go. Lotito has to back his man right now.
Yeah, and Lotito isn't exactly an easy man to get on with in that area, and neither is Sarri. Yeah. Neither is fucking Sarri. They're two men who want to have it their way, and Luis Alberto's another one. But yeah, I think in an ideal world, I think the plans are to have a long-term contract over there. Obviously, there's going to be more attractive things out there. There is for most of the players in Serie A, really, if we're talking about wages. But I think he's at that stage in his career where he wants to settle a little bit, particularly after his last 2 spells, as I mentioned. And yeah, I think they could have a very good mutualistic relationship if they do that.
Yeah. This was Napoli's second loss of the season. The first one, of course, coming to Inter. De Laurentiis has commented, and he said that this loss reminds us to stay focused. So he's taking the loss as a positive, so his team doesn't get complacent, to keep fighting in the league, to remind the players of what it feels like to lose. It's useful before the Champions League, to experience a loss, I think.
Absolutely, and I don't necessarily think this is such a bad thing for Napoli. I think when they're ahead by that much, now, of course, if losses accumulate, then they're in danger. Well, anyone's in danger if losses accumulate. But I think this one loss against Lazio is another loss on their resume and just another learning curve for them. I think they'll learn from this, they'll adapt to this, and I think they can really start to kind of see the way that teams have beat them this year, the formula that is beating Napoli, and hey, they can only get better after that. I doubt that they don't really have the kind of squad that's going to drop their heads after losing this game.
Yeah. So, of course, this loss can be blamed on the absence of club legend Mario Rui, no?
Of course.
There was a bit of a thing where Mario Rui's agent said, basically Spalletti said something about Oliveira's physicality, how it's an advantage over Mario Rui. And Mario Rui's agent said that this was one of the cazzati of Spalletti.
I saw that.
So, yeah, quite an interesting little comment over there, classic Italy.
Yeah.
But yes, bro, once again, I like to applaud Lazio's defensive approach over here. They really, really played to their advantages, and they really gave themselves the platform to beat Napoli. Granted, it was through that moment of individual brilliance. Do you remember the days when Sarri used to say that Milinkovic-Savic and Luis Alberto can't play together?
Yep, he was fucking, and we always said he was wrong, brother? Yeah. And I think he realized that he was wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it was obvious that he was wrong because they did it for way before with Inzaghi,
They did it under Simone, and they had a fantastic spell under. They didn't win shit, but they were good.
Yeah, I think they won the Coppa, no?
Yeah, they did win the Coppa. They did win the Coppa, yes.
Before this loss, of course, Napoli became the third side to have reached 65 plus points after 24 Serie A games. This is after Inter in 2006-2007 and Juventus in 2018-2019. So I think that can conclude this game. Do you have anything you'd like to add?
Absolutely. Victor Osimhen, brother. What's this? He's fucking saying...
Oh, yes.
Napoli. Well, not Napoli. He's saying, I'm really enjoying working towards my dream, which is playing in the Premier League. I love playing in Serie A. It's one of the top 5 leagues. But this guy in Naples, where he's having so much success and he has an entire city who are obsessed with football behind him, had the audacity to go out there and say, essentially, Napoli are a stepping stone in my career. That will not sit well with the Napoli fans. It really, really won't.
I mean, this is celebrate them if
absolutely
they win the league, right? And which they probably will at this point. But yes, risk. What's he doing?
Bro.
Shut your mouth. Win the league, celebrate, be loved, and then leave silently. Why are you saying these
Talk
things?
about how much you love the club, how much you love the people, how you'll always be Napolitan at heart.
You know what it must be? He must be tired of these like Osimhen Kinder eggs that they've been making.
Osimhen! They are brilliant.
Yeah, these Osimhen themed desserts, by the way. We need to go up to Naples and get one, bro.
We do. But can we please not do blackface? I'm so against that. The amount of blackface we've been seeing.
Carnival, you see all these kids running around sprayed black like their older cousin would have sprayed them black for Osimhen cosplay. That's hilarious.
So wrong, man.
But yeah, turns out Osimhen's a Prem-head, which is hilarious. And apparently PSG have met with his agent as well. Let's see if he is...
He's United bound. He is United bound. I could picture him in a United kit already.
Yeah. Napoli are, and not only, sorry, before actually we get into that, Kvaratskhelia as well was flirting with Real Madrid, saying that it's his dream to play for Real Madrid, and he used to he used to admire Guti when he was younger. Guti was his idol, and he had he couldn't acquire a Guti kit from anywhere. They were unavailable in Georgia. So he bought a white top, or he had a white top, and he just wrote the number 14 on the back for Guti. Guti recently was on Spanish TV, and he said that he welcomes Kvaratskhelia with open arms to Real Madrid, and that he'll give him a signed kit if he joins. So yeah,
sweet of Guti.
but this is sad to see that Napoli are doing so well and their players are already flirting with other clubs.
Absolutely, and even, I mean, Milan last year still lost Frank Kessie on a free after winning the league, for example. So I think that goes to show financially, and I mean, fuck it, even the viewership, it's so much bigger in the Premier League. It seems like that is the pinnacle of football at the moment, which sucks because there's a way more beautiful league and we're talking about it right now. But that is the direction players want to go in when they have the rights to watch those teams growing up and they can go there and make so much money and all the clubs want them, then they need to pursue their dream and then they need to follow that. Why show their loyalty to one club if they don't fucking want to?
Look, at the end of the day, these guys can go wherever they want. They will never witness the joy and the respect that winning a league in Italy gives you, man. Like those celebrations in Milan last year, I don't think Kessie will ever have anything like that in his career ever again.
Probably not, man.
Because the sheer fucking passion that those fans have, especially like Osimhen, he's not gonna meet another fan base like Napoli's. He can go to United, he can go to PSG, but he'll never have that again.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. And maybe after winning the Scudetto and seeing the reception that he gets will change his mind.
It could be.
I don't think Tomori, for example, will ever leave Milan after.
At this point, he seems so starstruck when he speaks about them. But of course, if things keep going the way they're going, maybe Milan will kick him out.
No.
Of course, I'm being a drama queen.
We love you, Fake. We love you. Go get him, Fake.
Napoli are in first with 65 points, while Roma are in fourth with 47 points.
The next game we're going to be covering is Roma 1, Juve 0. The previous encounter was a 1-1 draw between the two sides. Jose Mourinho was actually on the bench after winning his appeal against a 2-match suspension for insulting the fourth official during the defeat to Cremonese. Smalling returned from suspension and Pellegrini was able to start despite flu symptoms, but Tammy Abraham was benched again, this time for Gini Wijnaldum in a more advanced role, supporting false nine Paulo Dybala. Juve were looking for a 5th consecutive victory in Serie A, with Manuel Locatelli recovering from a suspension, so only De Sciglio, Milik and Caio George were missing. Roma lined up in their 3-4-2-1 formation with Rui Patricio on goal and a backline of Ibanez, Smalling and Mancini. They had Spina out on the left and Zalewski out on the right with Matic and Cristante in the double pivot. They had Wijnaldum advanced as a left attacking midfielder, Pellegrini as a right attacking midfielder and Dybala up top in a false nine. Juve started in their 3-5-1-1 formation with Szczesny in goal and a backline of Danilo, Bremer and Sandro. That Quadrado out on the right, Kostic out on the left and Rabiot, Locatelli and Fagioli forming the midfield three with Di Maria playing behind Dusan Vlahovic. So the game started off pretty much as we expected it to. Both sides were looking to hang on to the ball, both sides were looking to keep possession. Then in the 43rd minute, Patricio denied Rabiot's header, blocking the strike with his foot onto the post after a great cross by Danilo. After the half-time break in the 53rd minute, Mancini unleashed an unexpected bullet from outside the area and into the inner side netting with a fantastic goal by the big Italian centre-back. The distance is equivalent to just outside the semicircle, pretty much, but at a bit of an angle. What a goal, and it was his first in 2 years. 5 minutes later, in the 58th minute, Quadrado tried to catch Patricio off guard by going for a goal from a free kick which was set up for a cross, but hit the outside of the post as a result. That's post number 2. In the 78th minute, Patricio produced a brilliant one-handed save to deny a Di Maria strike from distance, and then the 81st, it was the third post for Juve, as a dangerous score into the first post by Paredes almost led to an own goal by Mancini, but his header hit the post. In the 89th minute, Moise Kean came off and got sent off after just 40 seconds after kicking Mancini off the ball and left the field with no complaints. Allegri's reaction was fucking hilarious. He was doing like the mavaffanculo.
Ma che cazzo.
Ma che cazzo with his fingers. I mean, young Italian guy coming on, you know, against Roma for Juve losing 1-0. Just try to get an equalizer or something. Don't be kicking motherfuckers off the ball, like, you know what I mean? Doesn't matter what he says, like.
He's been banned for 2 games and he's been fined 10,000 euros, and Juventus have made his deal permanent. All in that order, by the way.
Yep, pretty much. I mean, you know, they were probably, it had probably been decided from before that they were going to
get a clause, apparently. Some sporting conditions were met. I didn't know that getting a red card in 40 seconds it was included in these sporting conditions, but anyway.
Hey, fuck it. Juve operating in quite a unique way, as even Juventini would know. But they hit the post on 3 separate occasions. Do you think they deserved more out of this match at all?
I mean, probably yes. I mean, you look at the statistics for sure, and even you look at the way that Juve played, they probably deserve to get a goal in this game. This was one of the first times this season I've seen Rui Patricio play well.
He had a very good
He had a really good game. He had a
really solid game. He had at least 3 very good saves.
Yeah. And, you know, you've had 5 shots on target, so it was no easy feat for him.
No.
However, I did think that Roma were very smart. They frustrated Juve. They played without a target man, which was, to be honest, just straight up playing for those set pieces.
Yeah.
You know, you play players who can run for you, can press off the ball. And then you look at Ibanez, Smalling, Mancini. You rely on those guys, Cristante and Matic. You throw them in on the set pieces. You put Dybala on it. You put Pellegrini on it, whatever. Wijnaldum's just covering ground, box to box, and you're good to go, man.
Yeah, that's pretty much how Roma were set up. I think this game was a race to who got the 1-0 first.
Yes.
Both sides are those kind of teams. They get the 1-0 and they defend it. And I do think that Juve deserved to get at least a draw, right, out of this game, just to put that on record. However, Roma did take a more defensive approach after they opened the scoring in the 53rd minute. So that was a massive chunk of the second half where they were just piling bodies back, and Juve were piling bodies forward. Of course Juve are going to have strikes. Of course Juve are going to have shots on goal. Of course they're going to attack. They were given the opportunity to, but Roma did a good job, and they were lucky that Rui Patricio was in good form. They were lucky that Juventus couldn't put the ball to the back of the net and they hit the post on 3 different occasions. But it was a conscious choice by Roma to defend that 1-0 lead in the 53rd, and Juve would have done the exact same thing.
Exactly, that's it. Whoever scores first wins 1-0, as you said. It's so true.
Yeah. Sunday's 1-0 win over Juve for Roma, coupled with their 1-1 draw in the reverse fixture, means that Roma is undefeated against Juventus in the Serie A season for the first time since 2003-2004.
Wow.
They have really had a tough time against Juve, and, you know, Roma hate Juve.
It took a top coach.
It did take a top coach.
You look at, granted, they've had Spalletti, they've had...
but Mourinho's Mourinho. These guys won't go down as some of the greatest managers of all time. Mourinho will go down as one of the greatest managers of all time.
Yeah, fair point.
So you're absolutely right over there.
Yeah.
His reaction, by the way.
Whose?
Mourinho's reaction to the
goal.
The Mancini goal.
Oh yeah, he didn't even flinch.
And it's funny, it was him and I believe his assistant manager that he just takes with him everywhere. Pretty much. He's good to speak Portuguese to players that speak Portuguese, like Eric Dyer, apparently.
That was hilarious.
Chilling, speaking Portuguese, no subtitles on. Me and Jake are screaming. But they were basically looking at a sheet, like going through some tactics. Tammy Abraham was coming on, and the second goal went in. Abraham went off running, and Mourinho and the assistant manager just did not flinch. They just kept talking, kept looking at people. Some people tried to shake them, like to wake them up, but No, it was a job well done by these guys, and they were laser focused throughout.
Tammy was about to come on in the 53rd.
Yeah.
He then came on because the goal was scored in the 73rd minute, so 20 minutes later. That was interesting to see. Basically warmed up, getting ready, getting a few tactical notes from Mourinho, and then you go and sit down again.
Yeah, exactly.
For 20 more minutes.
Exactly. I think the biggest thing Mourinho had to worry about, and this is something that Juve should have used more, the left-hand side, Kostic versus Zalewski, only went one way.
Yeah.
Kostic was turning him inside and out. He was getting schooled by the Serbian for most of the match. And then that kind of changed after they brought on Rick Karsdorp, who did a much better job than Zalewski. But Zalewski really got exposed. Kostic is a great player, and Kostic exposes a lot of players.
Most players.
But wow, Kostic was making quick work of him every single time, man.
He really was, and it's a real shame that he couldn't serve as Vlahovic. Vlahovic could not get involved this game. I saw a stat that was posted today. So in 21 games for Fiorentina, Vlahovic had 17 goals. In 31 games for Juventus, he has 15.
Wow.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense when you look at the fact that he's playing for an Allegri team. You are going to score less goals, but it just sucks because he doesn't look like the type of striker he was at Fiorentina. You know, he was so serviceable before.
Yeah.
You could give him the ball outside the box and he'd turn, you know, and make a forward run, and everything was set up for him to succeed. Nowadays, it seems like he's getting the ball a lot with his back towards goal, and he doesn't really excel.
No, I mean, and we spoke about this in the last episode as well. It's frustrating to see. Firstly, he adapts very well, and he's carrying out that task to the best of his abilities. He's doing a decent job over there. What he had at Fiorentina was the ability to come back and insert himself a bit more in the midfield area in order to make runs and get in behind the defense. He used to drag the defense up with him, and then they used to find him with those long balls, and he used to utilize his pace, and he used to finish cleanly. Over here, he is that target man. He is that Giroud, so to say, that Lukaku, that stays with his back towards goal, on the box, on the line of the box or inside the box. He's just waiting to receive the ball to either lay it back or better yet, turn around and have a snap at goal. But he's really not being utilized as the... It's a shame when you have a goal scorer like that, you don't utilize him to solely score goals. You know what I mean? True. Look how City use Haaland, for example. Sometimes that's just the way you need to utilize these players, man.
Yeah, last week we did address the criticism, and we called it harsh on Vlahovic. The criticism because of the numbers. People are saying he's not scoring as much. In reality, he's still scoring, and his goal scoring statistics aren't bad. It's the fact that when he doesn't score, he hardly touches the ball. Yeah. You look at his touches this game. How many
but how's that his fault, man? When
it's not. No, he's set up to be like this in this system. You know, it's a shame. If you look at the possession percentage, Vlahovic had 1.3% of the ball possession this game.
Man. Wow.
Yes. So, exactly.
It also has something to do with having Smalling man marking you. Smalling was excellent in this game. Yeah. And if it wasn't Smalling, it was Ibanez. And if it wasn't Smalling or Ibanez, it was Mancini. So, exactly. You know, playing with what if they had Milik, he would have started this game. With a two up top.
A two up top, yeah,
have that
probably
muscle
actually.
Up against the muscle. It would have been a more ideal setup, I think, for Juve, but alas.
Yeah, 3-5-2 maybe, you think?
Yeah, probably a 3-5-2, Probably a 3-5-2.
Then Di Maria, where would Di Maria pop in?
They could play with a bit more of an attacking midfielder in a 3-5-2, I guess.
Yeah, maybe. That would have been interesting, actually. I wish Milik was fit. I enjoy watching Milik play.
Yeah, so do I. He's a fucking bomber, man. Yeah. I think we can both agree that Mancini was man of the match. He scored a fantastic winner, got Moise Kean sent off, and he defended excellently throughout the game. So, round of applause for Mancini. Like you said, Patricio finally had a great game, and Moise Kean was handed a 2-match ban, a 10k fine, along with a new contract. What a reaction for Roma after the Cremonese loss. whereas Juve, after the victory in the Derby della Mole, they would have hoped to do better over here. However, massive step for Roma in the right direction as they're now in 4th, level on points with 5th place Milan under 47 points, and Juve are in 7th on 35 points, level on points with Bologna in 8th.
Yeah, people would have it would have been expected for Roma to get 3 points against Cremonese and Juve, right? People would have been like, okay, I'll take that. But no one would have expected it to be like this.
Not
right?
at all.
Yeah, you lose to Cremonese or you beat Juve. Okay, cancel the other one out. So the next game we're going to be covering is Fiorentina 2, Milan 1. The reverse fixture was a 1-0 victory for Milan. Fiorentina had only won one of their 3 previous 16 Serie A home games against Milan. So this was a tie that Milan historically tend to win.
Yeah.
Fiorentina and Milan are 2 of the 4 teams to have attempted the most shots in the current campaign. Fiorentina with 387, Milan with 351. Fiorentina are also the team that have conceded the fewest shots with 229. However, they have the worst ratio between shots conceded and goals conceded, on average 1 goal every 7.6 shots. Now, this is interesting because it goes to show Italiano is setting this team up well. They're kind of unlucky out of this statistic over here.
But that's a similar statistic to the one Milan had a couple of months ago when Tatarusanu was a goal. It's just like they conceded from every single goal, from every single shot they conceded.
It's like you lost 3-0, but you only conceded 3 shots. What's going on? Now, Fiorentina lined up with a 4-3-3 formation with Terracciano and goal, Biraghi as the left back, Dodo as the right back, Igor and Martinez Quarta as the centre-back duo. Mandragora, Amrabat and Bonaventura formed the midfield 3 with Nico Gonzalez on the left wing, Jonathan Ikone on the right wing and Arthur Cabral as the menace up front. For Milan, it was their 3-4-2-1 formation with Magnan in goal, Tomori, Ciao and Kalulu as the black 3. Messias was on the right, Hernandez was on the left, Tonali and Benasser were in the middle, Rebic and De Ketelar playing off the shoulders of Olivier Giroud.
Of course, Leao was suspended for this match, right?
And Rebic came in to replace him, and we realized that they don't even breathe the same air. I remember when Rebic was a deployable player. Nowadays, he seems past it. He might be starting, by the way, against Tottenham up front, sole striker. But apparently Giroud's training again, so that's just...
Giroud is training again.
He's training. He was injured, apparently, a slight problem, but the videos were released of him training. So
I prefer Rebic as a striker than a winger nowadays.
Same. But we'll see. Maybe Rebic might actually be good for the press against Spurs.
Yeah, maybe.
But we'll see anyway. So...
I'm going to throw up thinking of that game.
Yes, tomorrow. Huh?
Yeah.
That is the reason why the episode's out earlier, by the way, because we're saving Wednesday for the Champions League.
Exactly.
The first notable action of the game was when Cabral, Nico Gonzalez and Mandragora linked up excellently to get the ball to Bonaventura, who squeezed it past Magnan, but Tomori was there to clear it off the line. That was some lovely play by Fiorentina, really taking advantage of the space that Milan had between the players. You see them waiting until the very last second to release the ball to really help their teammate out, getting the player as far away from them as possible.
Exactly.
In the 30th minute, Giroud had a volley after a long ball. He shot it straight into the goalkeeper. Oh, that had potential, didn't it?
Yeah, that was a brilliant ball by Benasser. That's why Benasser is the first name on the team sheet for Milan.
Exactly. In the 49th minute, Milan's 4 games without conceding came to an end after a perfectly executed Nico Gonzalez Jorginho-esque semi-no-look penalty was converted. Tomori repeated his error against Chelsea after getting spun by Jonathan Ikone out on the left-hand side. The Englishman panicked, rush of blood to the head as Ikone entered the box. He still had to beat Ciao and Magnan, but of course Tomori decided to drop Jonathan Ikone, giving away the penalty.
You put a single hand on his shirt in that area from the back. Firstly, you're not going to get the ball. Secondly, he's going to go down and there's going to be a penalty. Like you said, Ciao was in a fantastic position to step in over there, and he was about to. Magnan is also not Tatarusanu.
Yeah.
He could actually do something about that. Schoolboy defending, I'm afraid, by Fick, man.
Yes, not quite the dominant centre back that we saw last season. This year, he's made a couple of mistakes. He looked flawless last season. To be fair, he's a victim of his own high standards. But,
Exactly.
But this was schoolboy, as you said.
Yeah.
Nico Gonzalez doesn't know how a bow and arrow work, by the way.
Nico Gonzalez he thought that celebration was going to be cool, and I just look back. I can't even watch it. It's so weird.
It's so weird.
Like, first he pulls out the bow, and let me tell you, it's quite cool.
Yeah, the way he pulls it out.
The way he pulls out the bow, it's like, oh shit, this guy's gonna fucking fuck me up. Like, he gets the bow in position, and he just goes pew 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 pew, like pulling the trigger with his finger. Like, what are you doing, bro? What are you doing?
He was like, I'm gonna pull the arrow and then pull the trigger on my Glock.
He looked so cool in the beginning, man.
Whatever. The second half started off with Giroud getting his header saved by Terracciano and Theo Hernandez missing a one-on-one against Terracciano. In the 80th minute, it was Manyan who denied Jovic's header but couldn't save his second attempt in the 87th minute as Jovic headed in a dodo cross slam dunkerino.
Yeah.
He beat Chow in the air over there. Chow also made a few mistakes this game, and we hadn't really seen him make any mistakes. Last episode, we mentioned that he had made mistakes in the Bundesliga, and perhaps I have jinxed him.
Well, we'll get into it very, very soon.
Yeah. Adli, Salamakers, Theo, goal. This happened in the 94th minute. Of course, Adli kind of played a good forward pass to Salamakers. This forward pass is getting overhyped on Twitter. It was a good pass, sure, but it's pretty standard stuff for a playmaker. Salamakers brought the flames with the through ball to Theo Hernandez, who finished very, very well. But this was a goal that I couldn't really enjoy.
No.
It was too late. The game was already over. Theo Hernandez was against me on Fantacalcio. It was just salt in the wounds.
So was Nico Gonzalez, bro.
Yeah.
You had a mad this
I had a
week, bro.
nightmare.
You had an absolute mad.
I don't even want to talk about it.
Yeah, but I'm glad, at least, like, obviously, if I could take some happiness out of Theo Hernandez's goal, is that he was struggling. And sure, he semi-scored in the game before, and sure, he assisted the game before. He assisted that Giroud goal. But this was a very good goal by Theo. He's having a good run of form now, and hopefully it's more things to come. Yeah. I want to instantly pick up that conversation about Chow and Tomori making mistakes in this game, right?
Sure.
Every time Milan have played the 3-5-2 formation, 3-4-3 formation, and utilized Chow, Kalulu, and Tomori, because of Milan's tactical awareness in that formation, they really managed to neutralize their opponents. This was the first time where their opponents actually thrived against a 3-5-2 setup, and they were doing really well to play that quick football, bring it in from the flanks into the middle, and suddenly the defenders were all over each other, and it was a bit of an organizational mess in that area. I think Fiorentina had a fantastic performance. Even as a Milan fan, sure, I'm bummed out by the loss, but it's not like Milan looked like utter shit. Normally, when Milan lose, it's because they played like fucking shit, like they have this year. But this simply, well done to Fiorentina. Milan were absolutely outplayed, and Milan were exposed, and they were exposed not because of their low quality, but because of the high quality by Fiorentina, who have suddenly really turned things around. The 3-0 away victory against the informed Hellas Verona, and now they've just beaten the champions 2-1.
Yes, and Italiano has made a habit of beating Milan and beating Pioli specifically. He beat Pioli and Milan with Spezia, that 2-0 victory, Day. Was it? It was fucking horrible.
I was out at dinner.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was at Sarah's that day watching it on the laptop.
Because it was Valentine's Day, I think, or around Valentine's Day.
Around the time, maybe. He's got him figured out. He's the better bald man.
I thought as the bald community you stick together and you don't like put bald man over.
No, it's what's his name? Italiano has a smoother head.
Yeah, but I mean, Pioli's got the drip to go with it, no?
Yeah, Pioli's a handsome man as well, to be honest. Let's give him his flowers.
Love you purely.
So, bro, I want to talk about Krunic a little bit because during Milan's month of poor form where they were losing 10-0 to everyone, Krunic was absent, right? And then Krunic came back into the starting 11, essentially, and Milan won 4 games in a row without conceding a single goal. Now Krunic was out in this one after getting a yellow card for a foul on Jeremy Boga against Atalanta in the last game, cumulative yellows. And Milan lose to Fiorentina. Is this a coincidence?
I think so. I think the guy is definitely a great player. I think every Milan fan in the right mind would rather have the setup of Bennacer and Tonali playing together. However, I do think that he could have played a big part in when Bakayoko came on in the 66th. Had that change been Krunic instead, with him being so adaptable, with him being so versatile, you want him to attack, he attacks well. You want him to defend, he defends well. You want him to press, fucking press until he'll be that savage. I think he would have been such a good addition ahead of Bakayoko, and that could have potentially had some kind of difference made in the game.
Yeah, Origi, Bakayoko and Zlatan all came on at the same time, to be honest. Yes, all in the 66th minute, and I was like bringing on 3 threes.
Yeah, he brought on a bunch of players for the physicality. There's no doubt about that. You see the 3 players that came on, they're literally all very, very physical.
I would have brought on Salamakers, Adli or Pobega, man. Salamakers and Adli or Pobega, to be honest with you, earlier on. I don't know. You have to look at offensive avenues right now. Messias was not on this game. He wasn't very effective. Tonali's form has been pretty low, man. It's been bad. And to be honest, going into the Spurs game, I would start with Bennacer and Krunic in the middle.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, maybe for the high-stake matches, I think maybe Tonali needs a bit of a break because it doesn't seem like it's getting any better for him. I don't know if he's failing to adapt to the system or if he's just having a bit of a bad spell, maybe a bit of both. But yeah, I think he needs a bit of a break, man.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe sit one out. Recollect yourself, watch from the sideline, re-enter again. I was impressed to see De Ketelare having a few moments of brilliance, quite frankly.
He had a great moment, bro.
Where he floored Dodo and whipped in a sailing ball to the far post.
He dribbled past 2 players like Prime Milicic.
Yeah, true.
And that I was so happy to get that glimpse of De Ketelare because it is coming. And can we talk about that? Can we talk about how Leao posted before the game saying CDK will get his first goal today? You heard it here first.
He's like everyone else on Twitter.
Yeah, like literally. Like I get it. Kudos, Leao, for being so supportive of your man. But if we played for Milan and I hadn't scored yet and you wrote that about me after the game, I'm like, what the fuck, bro?
That's because you're really sensitive, though.
It does add a sense of pressure because let the media talk, let the fans talk, the nonsense, the gibberish, and then just stay out of that. You don't need to feed the hype of De Ketelare hasn't scored yet, because he's feeding that. He's turned it from something a pundit would say, something a fan would say, something 2 idiots on a podcast would say, to something his fucking teammate is saying.
Something internal.
Exactly.
Oh, that's true. That's a fucking good point, actually.
Thank you.
Yes, and speaking of Leao, man, Leao is vital for this Milan team, and even when he doesn't show up, the stats don't lie. Listen to this. Since the start of last season, Rafael Leao has missed 5 Serie A matches. During this period, Milan earned 1.4 points per game. They had a 40% win rate without Leao.
Now, that's not a coincidence.
With Leao on the pitch, it rises to 2.2 and the win rate rises to 67%. And that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, now that is not a coincidence. It is going to be very... It's going to be terrible for Milan to inevitably watch Leao go within the next 2 seasons. Because he will leave the club within the next 2 seasons. I mean, there's too much kind of... There are too many signs that that's going to happen. And that is going to have quite a bad effect on Milan because they really found someone that can just change the game with the simple touch of a football and change the way in which the team operates. Because now they could play a long ball from the back, down the flank, and, they just know that your guy is going to get there. And not only that, but the opposition instantly have 3 men on him, creating space around the other side. So Milan are going to need to look further than fucking Noah Lang and Saint Maximin when removing Leao from the picture.
You look at Leao. Leao is a player that is, to be honest, too good for this Milan team. And what? Relax. All right, give me a sec. So the only reason Milan have a 90 million, 100 million euro winger is because they bought him young. They bought the dip. No.
Yeah, literally.
Other than that, there's no other way Milan would have a player of that caliber, you know? So it's kind of the result of buying young. It's that Gazidis philosophy, right? But this, over the span of 10, 15, 20 years, will turn you into a club that can actually buy that type of player. So now this is only the early days. You know, you see a few players over here who were fantastic investments that Milan could never afford to buy. Theo Hernandez and Leao in particular. You know, you look elsewhere, they're growing as well. Benacer is another one who's sprouted. You know, he was brought in for less than 20 million euros. He must be worth at least 40 now. Tonali, another one. You know, you look at Tomori, Chao, Kalulu. All these guys were good investments. So I'm curious to see what happens to this Milan team within the next 10, 15 years, because they are on the right path business-wise. And when you look at the fact that they have cut their losses down to 20 million, which is absolutely crazy when you look at the losses Milan were dealing with the ownership of Young Hong Lee. I'm talking about like 200 million euro and the European football suspension. So Milan are definitely on the right track in the long term. When people start freaking out, Pioli out, this isn't the team that won the league last season. Milan should have never won the league last season so early on in this project. I mean, Milan fans should be grateful. The objective is top 4. You miss out on top 4, then you talk about sacking the manager. But as it stands right now, Milan are on track and they're still in the Champions League. And, you know, bar that fucking weird month, they're doing all right.
Yeah, and I think the moral of the story over here is pay Maldini and Massara, whatever the fuck they're asking for. That's where you should invest your money, because these are the guys that are really putting in the work to get the balance sheet down and to create a team that can excel in the league and in the Champions League with close to no funding, man. What they've been capable of doing with this Milan team is magical, and they have a vision. And Pioli just fits perfectly into that, because he's a man manager, he's a motivator, he keeps the players happy. And then fuck it, obviously with the way Milan are set up right now, like you're saying, you keep a player who's on the verge of being world class until he's 25, 26, and you sell him in his prime and you make a bunch of money from that. And that's what Milan are trying to do. That's what they've failed to do because a bunch of players left on a free. But hopefully they'll learn with this Leao situation. And if it doesn't extend, then this summer, Milan will see him go for 90 million euros at least, I would say.
I do think, however, that Maldini and Massara did start off better with their deals than last season or this season. Kind of, how am I going to word this? They were better than the last one. The last transfer market was their worst one so far. Their last 2 transfer windows were their worst 2 so far, in my opinion, with Maldini and Massara. And it's not even opinion based; it's a fact. The signings that they made have not been utilized at all by Pioli. You look at, Chao now broke into the team, but you look at Origi, he's done nothing. Granted, that was a
free coup.
Whatever, fair enough. But De Ketelaere wasting so much time in the Mercato.
Season 1, bro.
Season 1
it's his
again,
first season.
Sure.
Theo was fucking dodgy on his first.
True.
Leao, I was like, why didn't we keep Coutron? Kind of fucking thing in season 1, bro.
Yeah, but it's weird how, fucking the team, the players that came in have barely featured. That is a bit worrying in my opinion.
It's true, but it's also the lack of funding that he had, because if it were up to Maldini and Massara, they would have, spent a bit more money than they did. You know what Milan should do though? That like fucking 12-year-old that's scoring 1,000 goals in 17 games for Milan.
Come on,
maybe he should come on, man. Maybe he should come on.
Yeah, he should be Milan starter against Spurs. Now, Fiorentina, bro, are on a good run. They have found their scoring ways. They have 3 avenues to get into Europe next year. They can either try to push for that 7th place finish, which, to be honest, isn't that far-fetched, as they are in 12th with 31 points, and in 7th there is Juve with 35 points. So that is still a possibility to get into Europe through the league. That's a difficult avenue. There are 2 more avenues which are quite difficult too, to be honest. One of them is the Coppa Italia, to get you into the Europa League, and the other one is the Conference League. You win the Conference League, you get into the Europa League. So they have 3 doors.
Yeah.
Watch them all shut within a month. Do you think they'll be in Europe next year?
No.
No?
I don't think so. I think they're capable of doing it, but I don't see it happening. I don't think they'll win conference. I don't think they will win the Coppa.
They have Cremonese now in the semi-final, and then they have the final.
They can do it. I don't want to be so abrupt with my no, because like you said, there are 3 windows, 2 more likely than the other, I would say. But I don't know, man, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't think it'll happen through the league.
Yeah. You know what? I agree with that. I don't think they'll make it through the league, but maybe through the Europa League, or more likely the Coppa Italia.
Yeah. They let me tell you what, man. I liked what I saw the past 2 games by Fiorentina. I really liked what I saw, and they're turning up that heat again. They've got Nico, they've got Ikone, who is just spinning motherfuckers. It was Davidovic and Tomori, 2 fucking tombstones in his bedroom. And man, I think finally they've picked it up again, Fiorentina.
Yeah, for sure. I also want to highlight during Fiorentina's second goal, where was Theo Hernandez? Now, Milan.
That happens sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes it happens. You look at your left back, where is he? I can't see him anywhere. Milan are currently in 5th, just outside the Champions League spot with 47 points, while Fiorentina are in 12th with 31 points.
The next game we're going to be covering is Inter 2, Lecce 0. The previous encounter was a 2-1 victory for Inter away from home on match day 1. The pressure was on for the Nerazzurri after their surprise defeat to Bologna last week, and a victory was needed to retain 2nd place. Joaquin Correa, Di Marco and Skriniar were still out of action. Baschirotto was suspended for the Salentini, who also missed Castro Dermaku and Martin Pongracic. But they did see the return of Samuel Umtiti and Federico Di Francesco, which is a massive plus for them. Inter started in their 3-5-2 formation with Onana in goal and a backline of Bastoni, Acerbi and Darmian. They had Gosens out on the left and Dumfries out on the right, with Mkhitaryan, Çalhanoğlu and Barella starting in the midfield. Çalhanoğlu starting in the regista role ahead of Brozovic here, with Dzeko and Lautaro Martinez up front. For Lecce, it was their 4-3-3 formation with Falcone in goal and a backline of Jandre, Tuya, Umtiti and Petzella. Gonzalez, Hjulmand and Male formed the midfield three with Strefezza out on the right, Di Francesco out on the left and Assan Cisse once again starting ahead of Colombo up front. So in the 28th minute, Inter opened the scoring through Henrik Mkhitaryan. It was a great move by Inter as Gosens had acres of space to square the ball to Barella inside of the box, who sent Male to the Macellaio with a dummy before laying it off to Mkhitaryan, who finished into the top corner in clear Mkhitaryan fashion. That was brilliant by Gosens, it was brilliant by Barella, and it was brilliant by Mkhitaryan. In the 52nd minute, Dumfries found Lautaro in the box from the flank and Lautaro finished past Falcone with a first-time strike. That's his 14th goal of the season. In the 66th minute, Gosens had penalty appeals waved away when he seemed to anticipate Alexis Blin, but the referee and VAR saw nothing amiss. Debatable. I think there was contact over there. Sure, it wasn't much contact, but I think other referees would have given that. I mean, nothing flashy by Inter, but they controlled the game and they came out the victors. Yeah.
They worked hard. They ran a lot as well.
They did.
You look at this game, there are quite a few positives for Inter to take. You look at, for example, Gosens has actually picked up a couple of good performances now in a row. We're seeing him back to his usual self.
Yeah.
You look at the fact that Denzel Dumfries as well, who was being booed by the fans, managed to get an assist on Lautaro Martinez. Lautaro instantly pointed at Dumfries and kind of told the fans, like, hey, this is your guy, you're meant to be applauding him. We're seeing Inter playing decently without Brozovic, which wasn't very common before. And you look at the fact that now apparently Brozovic and Inter are not as close as they used to be, with Brozovic potentially being transfer listed in the near future. Now, that's confusing to me.
It is confusing. However, I'm going to be the devil's advocate and say they have their replacement over here. I mean, the way Hakan has been playing in that regista role, I'm not gonna lie, bro, he's been very, very fucking impressive.
Of course, yes. He's been very good.
On certain occasions, you'd think, like in the Napoli game, for example, when they beat Napoli and it was Hakan's start as his feet as a regista, sometimes he's straight up better, man. Brozovic is one of the best registas in the league. He's definitely Inter's main number one most talented regista, but Çalhanoğlu is really fitting that role, and I think it was an active choice. Simone Inzaghi chose Çalhanoğlu to start ahead of Brozovic in this match because he was better suited for it.
Brozovic, to be fair, is coming off an injury, so he probably most likely wouldn't have started this game. But I still think that as a pure regista, you look at Brozovic, for example, let's take Brozovic last season. Miles better than Çalhanoğlu at regista. Çalhanoğlu can put in a shift as the mezzala over there instead of Mkhitaryan, maybe, or shifting with Mkhitaryan. They can both play, or Mkhitaryan can be utilized as a game changer, a super sub in the last 20 minutes of the game. But Brozovic, in my opinion, is one of the best metronomes in the league, and just letting him go because of what? There's no reason to let him go.
No, I mean, maybe wages or I don't know what the case may be that they let him go, and they shouldn't because he's their number one over there. But they have Hakan. And you mentioned him playing in a mezzala, for example. He can play there as well. But as a regista, he's really grown into the role. And he's just so calm under pressure when he gets the ball in that area. And you see him look up and he plays the right pass. People are playing it to him in tight spaces and he's cool, he's calm. He put in a man of the match performance in this game. He tallied up 4 key passes, 4 accurate crosses, 7 successful long balls, and he had 2 duels won. He had a very well-rounded showing in this game.
That's true. No, you're right. I've just Googled it very quickly. Apparently, how Inter managed the injuries of Brozovic actually deepened the rift between Inter and Brozovic. So apparently it's the way he was managed when he was injured. That's quite interesting. It's the same thing as Gosens. Why Gosens broke up with Atalanta.
Inter have been very impressive in the San Siro this year. You know how you see that good Inter and that bad Inter? The good Inter are typically at San Siro and the bad Inter are typically away from home. And we have spoken about their bad away form a little bit, but it's time we take a look at their home form a bit and how they are in the San Siro. They have 12 wins out of 14 at home in this area this season, only dropping points when losing to Roma and Empoli. Obviously their away form is another story, but what a difference it makes,
Massive. Having those fans backing you up, 75, 80,000 people screaming your name makes a massive difference.
Not they wouldn't be fun people to travel with, these Inter players. I think you go on holiday with them and they just start fucking up. Like
I'm not going out tonight, guys. I'm not feeling well. Or they go out and they pass out.
Exactly. At pre-drinks.
Exactly. I want to also, give a shout out to Acerbi.
Bravo. Who was next for me.
Yeah, he was brought in to be the 4th choice centre back. That first one off the bench with Bastoni, Skriniar and De Vrij, of course, being the starters. But Acerbi has looked like the best one.
Yeah, literally, man. He's a genuine solution to the defensive woes that they faced at the start of the season. When they miss key personnel, like the occasion, like in this game, for example, they missed Skriniar. At a point, they were missing Bastoni. At a point, they were missing De Vrij. This guy is there, experienced, in the middle of that 3-man defense, just ensuring that everyone's in line and check. And let me tell you what, the guy's great in the air. He can tackle. To be honest, I thought he was washed up after his last season at Lazio. I really thought he was past it. But wow, he's really slotted in well to this Inter team, man.
Yes, he has, at the age of 35. Huh?
Yes, sir. When leading the game, Inzaghi opted to bring on Gagliardini in the 78th minute, a player who was leaving on a free next summer, once again ahead of Aslani. Seems like Aslani isn't getting much of a sniff this season, a supposed signing for the future. However, he hasn't been utilised much, and I think he could be being utilised more.
For sure. To be honest, I just had to check if he was at the game because it is so surprising that he keeps bringing on Gagliardini. He was at the game. Especially when you have a 2-0 advantage. You know, you look at Gagliardini was brought in the 78th minute. Surely he could have given Aslani those minutes. But yeah, it is very strange. But maybe Gagliardini is just performing better in training, who knows? And maybe Simone Inzaghi doesn't want to risk it. We know what a perfectionist he is. We know how he's single-handedly stopped the entire Inter team from getting a single yellow card out of fear of being substituted early on.
Literally. There wasn't a single yellow card in this game.
No, which is surprising on Lecce's end. But I guess they say, you know, if we conceded 2 goals relatively early on, well, not even relatively early on, actually.
No.
They could have fucking got a bit more stuck in, you know what I mean? But
yeah, they missed Baschirotto in this game, which is obviously quite a big loss for them.
It's the first game he missed this season, Baschirotto.
Yeah. It's all the chicken and rice, bro.
That's it.
He finally got salmonella from it. Lecce were very beta in this game. I did think they were going to put up more of a fight against Inter. Obviously, it's not easy. Inter are a very tough side to play against, especially at San Siro, so I won't give them too much shit over there.
Yeah.
Cisse is a talent. Let me put it that way. Cisse is a talent. I'm not sure how high his ceiling is.
He's a 28-year-old talent.
Oh, wow. I thought he was younger than that.
He just has a baby face, bro.
Oh, wow. I did think he was younger than that. But I didn't mean a talent as in like, you know, an up-and-comer. But yeah, he's not really a talent, is he, at 28 years old? And this is
but he is talented.
He is talented, though. And at a point, like, he skipped past one of the defenders by knocking the ball around them and going around the other way. Had a crack at goal, was Lecce's only real opportunity. And yeah, it's... We'll see more of Cisse over Colombo, and I think Colombo is more going to be utilised as a super sub, so to say.
Perhaps. I mean, they've both had their moments this season. I would say that Lecce will probably continue next season with Cisse, as Colombo will probably be back at Milan, and we'll see what they'll do with him there. Perhaps they'll sell him on for some plusvalenza, get rid of that 20 million... What would you call it? That 20 million debt? Yes. Or they'll even play him. They can utilize him as a third choice striker.
I really don't think he's ready, man.
He's got more goals than Origi and Zlatan combined.
That's fair enough, I guess.
Yeah, so he would definitely be a suitable second choice. He'd probably be playing for Milan, maybe not starting every game, but he'd definitely be featuring for Milan this season, Colombo, if he were on the bench.
You know who I think Milan moved quite prematurely, but I think his performances nowadays have shown that Milan were actually right. Pellegrini. It feels like Pellegrini had so much hype around him. Yeah. And then he was average, to say the least, and Milan just offloaded him.
Yes, he was one of those players that Milan felt obliged to try to rehabilitate. The likes of Bojan, you know, back in the day, Origi now. You know, Milan buy these injury-prone players and try to...
I didn't know that was his reputation.
Yes. Pellegrini was with Genoa at 16 years old, a wonder kid scoring goals at 16. He got injured. He moved to France, suffered from even more injuries, and then was brought to Milan, where he suffered even more injuries. Now he's at Torino, where he's also suffering more injuries.
Yeah, man, he's been out for a while, and to be honest, I have no idea when we're going to see him next. And I think at this point, Sanabria is just a better option, to be honest. Inter are in second on 50 points, now just 15 points behind league leaders Napoli, whilst Lecce dropped down to 15th on 27 points.
Yeah, the next game we are going to be covering is Atalanta 0, Udinese 0. The previous encounter was a 2-2 draw at Udinese Stadium. Now, Atalanta have found...
you mean the Jewess?
The Jewess. So Atalanta had found the net in each of their previous 15 Serie A matches against Udinese, scoring an average of 2.3 goals per match. So for Udinese, this wasn't a terrible result. They look at it as a kind of combo breaker, right?
Yeah.
Udinese had only won one of their previous 14 matches away against Atalanta. It was a 3-1 win in December 2016, and the opener was scored by Duvan Zapata, who now plays for Atalanta, of course. Udinese have won just one of their last 17 Serie A matches.
Jesus.
They have 10 draws and 6 losses, and the only side in Europe's Big Five leagues that recorded fewer wins than Udinese and the Spirit is actually Angers. Angers?
I guess. I don't know. The French team.
Yeah, the French team.
Angers, I guess. They have been... Udinese remind me of those old people that just speak about the good old days. The good old days being the opening 7 matches in Serie A.
Yeah, they're like that student that starts the year off really well but kind of gives up 2 months in.
Me.
You. They're you at St. Martin's.
Yeah, literally.
There we go, bro.
I'm going to use a highlighter this year.
Yeah, exactly.
Runs
this is my notepad. So Atalanta lined up with their 3-4-3 formation with Juan Musso in goal, Jim City, Demiral and Toloi were at the back, Ruggeri on the left to replace Zappacosta after he suffered his weekly injury. Mele was on the right, Coop Miners and Derun were in the middle with Jeremy Boga starting on the left this time. Lookman was on the right and Hoyland was up front. For Udinese, it was Silvestri in goal, Becao, Biol and Perez were at the back. Perez was wearing a Santa hat this game. Bolese was on the right, Udoji on the left, Lovrich, Wallace and Arslan were in the middle with Beto and Success up front. If you think I'm joking about the Christmas hat, go check out the highlights. Now, the main takeaway from Udinese's starting 11 was that they went for a more defensive approach against this Atalanta team, as typically there's a bit of a ballot between Samardzic and Pereira, no?
Yeah.
They're always competing for the starting spot. In this game, they were both benched for Wallace, Arslan and Lovrich, and that's a very physical midfield 3. And to be honest, it did get the job done to a certain extent, because I'm sure they would have taken a draw against Atalanta. Granted, Atalanta aren't on the best form, but Udinese, as we mentioned, haven't won in eons.
Yeah. I mean, they've got to pick their battles. I don't think they were going to go for victory in this game, unless obviously they weren't going to purposely miss an opportunity, but they weren't set up to take the victory in this game. They were there to tame risk. Exactly, they were there to tame their opponents.
Yeah. The first important chance of the match came in the 17th minute when Beto tore into the middle of the field and served the onrushing Lovrich, whose shot was powerful but not precise. In the 27th minute, there was another chance for Udinese with a lazy Jim City pass back to the goalkeeper. It saw Beto take the opportunity to recover the ball, but Juan Musso was very good at coming out, reading the play and stopping the charging Beto. Atalanta continued to grind the game out, but the opportunity only came from dirty balls that were difficult to convert into goals.
Dirty balls have never really gotten me many opportunities.
Not really. Dirty balls actually stop you from getting opportunities.
Exactly.
Now, in the 37th minute, Coop Miners tried a shot from a distance. Silvestri blocked it on the ground. It was a very easy save, to be honest, for him. The second half started with Udinese pressing hard and high, and Atalanta breaking on the counter with Boga's speed and Silvestri forcing an Ederson shot out for a corner. So you look at this, the fact that Udinese did line up with a more physical team, but they did press very aggressively. And I wonder if that makes a difference. The fact that Pereira and Samardzic aren't the most active pressers you'll ever see, but these guys really are. You look at Wallace, Lovrich and Arslan. Yeah, they're very hardworking, industrious midfielders, and perhaps that's the reason they got these opportunities.
And they're like two completely different ends of the spectrum, because like you said, Arslan, Wallace and Lovrich and Makengo as well last season, they're all really high press. However, then Pereira and Samardzic are more like the silky dribbling type.
Exactly, they bring you the technique.
Exactly. Not much work off the ball, however. They could even be deemed by some as lazy.
Yeah, I mean, sure. Lookman had a shot saved well by Silvestri's foot, and he shot wide in a separate play shortly after. There was a really good chance where he cut in onto his left. Lookman does this amazing thing where he goes to shoot with his right but feints taking it onto his left. You know, it's a really silky move.
Yeah.
In the 63rd minute, Mele crossed. Becao managed to intercept it. In the 75th minute, Thuvan, who had just entered, shot from a favourable position, but the shot was not strong enough, and the match ended with Pasalic trying to place the ball into the back of the net, but the shot got blocked, and from the corner, Toloi had a shot, but it was saved very well by Silvestri. For me, the man of the match was Silvestri.
I think so as well, man. I think so. I think you'll give it to any one of the three defenders of Udinese as well. They did have a very good performance, and it's no easy task neutralizing Højlund, Lookman and Boga, and I think they did a fantastic job of that, so credit goes to that back four for them.
Yeah. These are two struggling sides over here. I'm sure they'll both take a draw at the moment. Perhaps Atalanta would be bitter not to get the victory.
Absolutely, when they see that Milan slipped up and they recently lost a 6-pointer against them, they'd be bummed about it.
And they could have cut the distance with Juve as well. Atalanta have one win in their last 5 games. They have lost to Lecce, Milan and Sassuolo. They have beaten Lazio and drawn to Udinese. So bit of a mixed batch over there for them. Can't really place what's going on at this Atalanta side and what's not working. The main thing that I notice when it comes to the successful Atalanta team of the past and this one are the fullbacks, man.
Absolutely. 100%. 100%.
These guys are not as good. You look at Mele, okay, sure, he's fast, he's quite dangerous, but he's nowhere near as let's not focus on Mele actually. Let's look at Mele as a direct substitute of Hans Hatteberg. They're very similar players. No, they're both industrious, they both cover the ground well, up and down, all game, 3 longs, right? Sure. Okay. They're not very different. But then when you look at that left side, when you had that prime Goossens working tirelessly, a player that can score, a player with such good technique for a fullback, and then you're going to the likes of Ruggeri and Zappacosta, I think that's the biggest blow for Atalanta. Because you look at the other departments, granted, Freuler was a great player and a big loss for them, but Coop Miners is no joke. He's a fucking good player as well. Probably an even more complete midfielder than Freuler is.
Yeah. Thing is, they haven't replaced Goossens, and when they offloaded him to Inter when he was injured, I thought it was a bit of a rush decision by Atalanta. It's almost like they were frustrated with his injuries, so they let him go thinking he wasn't gonna.
I think he wanted to leave, right, because of the way they managed his injuries. They aggravated it.
Yeah, it was that as well. But they haven't really replaced him. I mean, they stuck to their old guns in Zappacosta, who isn't the player that he used to be. Sure, he puts in a shift. Yeah. But he's obviously no Goossens. Ruggeri's still finding his feet. And they struggle a lot down that department. That's why I like seeing Boga in this team. Because he gives them that pace on the left-hand side, man. But then I also like having Højlund and Lookman playing together up front as a front two rather than Lookman on the wing. Because Lookman is dangerous in front of goal, man.
Yeah, at this point, play Mele on the left and play Brandon Soppy on the right.
Fair enough, yeah, I agree. I agree.
But anyway, yes, Lookman, Boga, Højlund is not a bad 3 players to have up front at all. That's definitely not the reason that they're not doing well. Perhaps it's the options coming off the bench to replace Højlund. You look at Muriel and Zapata. Zapata can barely catch a break from injuries at the moment, while Muriel looks like he's on a pack of Marlboro Gold and 4 Kit Kats a day at the moment.
This is diet. Yeah. No, those two need to go.
Yeah,
they need
at
to
this
go.
Point, at this point, just
literally,
it's over for you here. The good old days are behind you.
Yeah, and I think even, the good old days. Like obviously they lost Papu a while ago now, but still they lost Papu, and they had Miranchuk, they had Pessina, and they had Malinovsky. Yeah, and they just fucking lost them all, bro. They lost them all, and they kept Cope Miners, they kept Pasalic, who really has been underwhelming this season, and obviously Deron we can't complain about because he's the absolute metronome of that team. But they're not really playing with a trequartista anymore. They're not. I think that's the reason they offloaded all these players. The only one they kept was Pasalic, but he's the most versatile of the lot, so it makes the most sense to keep him technically. But it doesn't mean because you're not playing with an attacking midfielder that you don't keep an attacking midfielder, because sometimes if you need to change mentality in the match, you're going to be utilizing someone in that area. Now, sure, Cope Miners can go there, but how many lungs does Cope Miners have? How many pairs of legs does Cope Miners have? I feel like removing those three, especially after losing Papu, it wasn't the best decision for Atalanta. They focused so much on offloading, and then sure, they got Boga, they got Cope Miners, they got Hoyland, they got Lookman. Great fucking signings, but where's that rotation that they had?
Yeah, and the thing is, it was weird because when Boga was brought in, they were playing a 3-4-1-2 formation with Malinovsky in the hole, right? And Boga was probably looking at that thinking, where the hell am I going to play over here? I'm not going to do the defensive work a left wing back does, and I'm not going to play as a striker at trequartista. And he was being brought on as a trequartista. Now that was weird. Now they've changed to a 3-4-3, not now, sorry. And then after that, they changed to a 3-4-3 formation. And they actually kept Malinovsky, and then Boga could actually go into the left wing, and Malinovsky was looking at every game 3-4-3, just thinking to himself, where the fuck am I going to fit into this? This isn't for me, so it is hard to keep a player like that. Then you get Ivan Tudor calling you with Marseille, and obviously you're going to go away.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. I think, to be honest, we nailed down what's wrong.
Igor Tudor, sorry.
Igor Tudor,
Ivan, yes.
Yeah. What did you say?
Ivan,
yeah. I mean, similar.
Atalanta currently sit in 6th as they continue to fall from the top 4 spots. They've got 42 points, while Udinese have fallen to 10th with 32 points.
The next game we're going to be covering is Torino's victory over Bologna, 1-0. The previous encounter was a victory for Bologna, on the other hand beating Torino 2-1. When it comes to injuries and suspensions, Ricci was suspended for Torino, whilst Dominguez for Bologna was out due to a knee injury. This was a potential battle for Europe, really. We might not see either of the teams in Europe, but it was a battle for Europe in the grand scheme of things. So Torino started in their 3-4-3 formation with Vanya in goal and the backline of Buongiorno, Shores and Gigi. They had Ricardo Rodriguez out on the left and Singo out on the right, Linetti and Ilic in the middle with Karamo and Miranchuk starting behind Sanabria. It was nice seeing Ricardo Rodriguez out on the left.
I mean... Nice because it's a throwback, yes, but I'm sure that the fans of Torino weren't too happy with that.
No.
He can't really advance beyond the halfway point, because if they counter, he's fucked. Yes, he'll get caught out.
Especially when you have Voivoda, you know what I mean?
Yes, but perhaps, you know what that must have been? An attempt to control Orsolini a little bit, to keep him in check, because you have 2 defensive players on that left side, and Ricardo Rodriguez and Buongiorno, who can actually handle him.
Hey, it worked.
It did.
For Bologna, it was a 4-2-3-1 formation with Skorupski in goal and the backline of Posch, Lukumi, Sosa and Cambiaso. They had Moro and Schouten as the midfield 2, with Orsolini out on the right, Soriano out on the left, Ferguson as an attacking midfielder, and Musa Barrow up front. Now in the 22nd minute, Karamo opened the scoring. It was a moment of magic for him, as the ball seemed glued to his foot as he managed to dance past the tight Torino defence in their box before slotting past Skorupski. Ricardo Orsolini wasted Bologna's best chance a few minutes later, seeing Torino defender Per Schurz performing a lovely, timely recovery run to prevent him from kicking the ball from the edge of the box, with only Milinkovic-Savic in front of him. Great tracking back by Schurz. Orsolini would have hoped to do better over there. Voivoda could have doubled Torino's lead, but didn't finalise a quick counter-attack, sending his header over the bar from an excellent position, and the game ended 1-0 in favour of Torino. Torino had 12 shots to Bologna's 11, 5 on target to Bologna's 1. It was quite a tight affair.
I think Torino managed to shut out Bologna way more than the latter managed to shut out the former. That goal by Karamo was a masterpiece. Karamo on great form, scoring 3 goals in 5 games.
Absolutely. I thought it was 4 goals in 6 matches.
Ooh, that's even better.
2 of which were winners. He had this one against Bologna and then the 1-0 against Udinese as well.
Bro, I've got Karamo on my fantasy football. And I also have Dzeko, Giroud, Petagna, and Dzeko.
And you're third.
Yes, you're second, okay, yes. So I'm never playing Karamo, right? Because obviously I'm playing Dzeko, Giroud, Petagna, or Dzeko, Giroud, Abraham. I also have Abraham. So Karamok can't get a sniff, but he's always on the bench with a 10.
Yeah.
You know, always. And I'm like, shit, dude, I'm gonna have to play this guy, but who do I drop? And then the thing is, the other three just aren't scoring, so I could technically drop any of them.
Literally.
But I know the second I drop one of those guys, they're scoring, bro.
Yeah.
And that's just the nature of fantasy football. That's Mein Kampf, bro.
And it's always frustrating having so many options on Fanta. When you have a lot of options and don't just have your go-to starting 11 and then like the Amrabats, which are guaranteed starters but only get you a 6 or a 5, like it's frustrating because you have to make big calls every week, and sometimes it stresses me out so much, man. So much. When you have two keepers, one's playing Atalanta and the other one's like with Sassuolo, but they're playing against Cremonese, for example, like which one do you start over there? The team that can keep a clean sheet, or the team that are playing is relegation
for the
side?
one-goaler approach at this point. Just take a keeper and his 2 subs, and you're good to go. You don't have to think about it in that department.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But let's get back into this. So it was a vital win for Torino and a potential race for Europe after losing 4-2 in the Derby della Mole. In what was another race for Europe. That was another one. Great recovery from Ivan Juric and La Granata. Bologna are no easy feat at the moment. They're red hot. They're coming off a win against Inter and have shown that they are a very dangerous side for anyone under Thiago Motta, who has really managed to get the best out of his players, especially Orsolini. Yeah. Orsolini, overall, is the most dangerous Italian striker in the top 5 leagues. He has scored 7 goals in 21 Serie A appearances in 2022-2023.
Wow, okay, nice. There we go. There's his national team call-up. I was thinking about the national team the other day, the Italian national team. And apart from the fact that Orsolini should definitely be called up, you look at Italy's centre-back partnership right now. I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here, but it is an interesting point. Can you name a better Italian centre-back at the moment than Romagnoli?
Probably Acerbi.
Acerbi, okay.
Maybe.
Sure,
Acerbi.
Fair enough. But Acerbi's old, you know, he's not going to be there for any of the major competitions coming up. Do you look at, for example, Romagnoli, Trasale? That's probably the best centre-back duo you have, and they play together every week, so it might be useful to take them both to the national team.
Well, that's sad for Italy, yeah?
I know.
That's very sad. They're known for that. I mean, Maldini, Chiellini, Nesta, Bonucci, Baresi, all these guys. Then you have Romagnoli and Cesare.
But hey, man, who knows? I mean, they're playing very well.
Yeah. Which one of these teams gets Conference League?
So I think that's a juicy. None of them, bro. None of them. Neither of them.
Okay, then who does?
Who gets Conference League? Juve. No, Atalanta. Juve get Europa League.
Okay. That's a good shout. That is a very good shout. At the moment, I would go so far as to say that.
Wait, am I even convinced about that? I'm not convinced, bro.
What aren't you convinced
fucking broke
about?
my brain, dude. That's what you just done. I don't know how I meant to fucking know, dude.
Between Bologna and Torino, who do you think is more likely to get Europe?
Okay. So I'm going to forget the other teams. So between Bologna and Torino, who's more likely to get Europe? Bologna.
I agree.
Bologna.
I agree.
And it's simply because if the going gets tough, they have a goal scorer.
Yeah.
They have many outlets to score goals. Torino tend to struggle to find goals. This recent emergence of Karamoh is a very good one. They've also experimented with Sek up front. It's not bad. Sanabria is not a bad shout, as we always discuss. But Bologna always, remember, they have Arnautovic. They've got Arnautovic coming back. They've got that Zirkzee guy. He's fucking pretty good. Orsolini's on the form of his life, you know. So I think both teams are good at shutting up shop. So I'm not worried about that. The thing is, can they win games? And to win games, you need to score goals. And I think Bologna are more capable of scoring goals.
I think so as well, which goes to show just how good Torino's performance was in this game. It was a very, very tight affair. But to scrape out a 1-0 victory like that, and when the stakes are so high, only says great things about Torino and Ivan Juric. They currently sit in 9th on 34 points, and just 1 point ahead of them in 8th is Bologna on 35, level on points with Juve. That race is red hot.
Yes, it is. The next game we're going to be covering is Monza 2, Empoli 1. The previous encounter was a 1-0 victory for Empoli, so this is sweet revenge for Monza. This game featured the two youngest tacticians in Serie A going head-to-head in Palladino and Zanetti.
Beautiful.
Empoli haven't won a game since January the 23rd, and that win came against Inter. Since then, they've had a draw against Torino, a loss against Roma, a draw against Spezia, a draw against Fiorentina, a loss to Napoli, and a loss to Monza. Empoli have...
Mirrors last year, huh?
It does, exactly.
Empoli got off to a flying start, and then they just drew.
Yeah, they love a draw, Empoli. And in fact, Empoli have drawn the most Serie A games in 2023.
Wow.
With 5, exactly. No side in the big European leagues has drawn more this year.
Wow.
Yeah, this year being 2023, of course. Yeah. Empoli have conceded the most Serie A goals from corners this season, 8, while Monza have scored only once from these situations, with Paolo Mari scoring against Spezia in October. Now, guess how Monza won this game?
Obviously.
It's a header from a corner. And it's crazy, as these stats sometimes they come to fruition. Right?
Yeah.
Now, Monza lined up with a 3-4-2-1 formation with Di Gregorio and goal. They're done with Cranio.
Yeah, absolutely. They tried him, didn't work.
Exactly.
Back to Di Gregorio.
Poor guy. And Cranio is like 28 years old nowadays.
Yeah.
So, Caldirola, Mari, and Izzo were at the back with Carlos Augusto out on the left, Birindelli on the right, Pessina and Sensi in the middle, with Petagna, Caprari and Sciurria up front. For Empoli, it was their 4-3-1-2 formation with Perizan in goal, and my brother and I, we were very confused at this guy.
Yes.
Perizan, who?
Hey, and there was the other game as well of Hellas Verona, where they featured, because Montepò was out injured.
Oh, yeah.
They started a gentleman, his name
Pesiso?
was Perilli.
Perilli.
Yes, he's close enough.
Yeah, Perilli. He was quite good. I mean,
He was.
A bit shaky at the start, but then he grew into it.
Yeah.
Now, Stojanovic was out on the right, Parisi was out on the left, with Luperto and Ismaili as a centre-back duo. Bandinelli, Marin, and the ever-impressive Akpro were in the middle. Baldanzi was playing in the hole with Satriano and Ciccio Caputo up front. Empoli started the game off well, scoring a goal, however that was ruled out for offside, and then in the 19th minute it was Monza's turn to strike back as Caprari played a long forward ball to Petagna, who flicked it on gorgeously to Sciurria. It was a silky little flick.
Yeah.
Sciurria had to take it on his left, and he converted it expertly. Now, this was initially called off for offside, but the referee was soon to find out that he was wrong, and the goal stood. Birindelli, Ismaili and Carlos Augusto also got close to scoring in the first half, but it ended 1-0. In the second half, Marin whipped the ball in. Mari got ahead to it, but it wasn't enough as the ball snuck through to Satriano at the far post, who headed it in. Now, the celebrations were massive for Empoli over here as they ran to their fans, and the scenes were crazy as a fan gave Ciccio Caputo a beer and he took a massive gulp out of it. And that's just the classic Ciccio Caputo that we know and love. We didn't even score this time, and he celebrated by actually drinking beer. So that's great to see. You know, Ciccio Caputo has his own beer company, and he used to give people who played him on fantasy football when he scored free samples of his beer. Yeah. If you played Caputo and he scored, you would send Caputo a screenshot of your fantasy football with Caputo on the starting 11, and he would pick people every time he scored and send them beer.
I love shit like that,
Yeah, man.
I love that shit.
Fantastic marketing, Ciccio Caputo. Now, Marin almost scored from a direct corner.
Yep. The magician that he is.
The magician. And then in the 67th minute, Monza found a winner through a Caprari corner and an Izzo header. They managed to shut up shop well after that, and they took home all 3 points.
Yes, sir.
Now, brother, what did you make of this game?
I mean, it was quite an even affair. I think Monza just have a little bit more flair to them. To be honest, this game, you never really know how it's going to go. Empoli got the upper hand in the game before that. We know that on their day, Monza are more dangerous than Empoli. They're faster than Empoli, but you can't help but love the way that Empoli play, the way that they're set up, their transitions, so on and so forth. But it was that silkier football that got the victory over here, 2-1. And you will find that they perhaps do have more outlets to get goals. Empoli always need to take an extra 5, 6, 7 steps to get into a goal scoring opportunity, whilst Monza sometimes just need a simple overlap and a goal's a goal. So that prevailed for them.
Yes. In fact, Monza weren't as silky as they usually are, and they haven't been. Perhaps it's because they've come off 2 losses now. They tend to sit back a little bit, especially against Empoli over here. Empoli had the majority of the ball for most of the game. They played more vertically, though. You're absolutely right. Empoli do try these little flick-ons, these very silky moves, these 1-2s in the middle of the park. While Monza, this game, were literally playing vertically. Let's go. Boom, direct. And it actually paid off for them. So it was a good tactical setup by Palladino.
I mean, look at their setup. Look at how Monza are set up. Look how offensive this team is. Carlos Augusto, left wing back. Birindelli, right wing back. Double pivot. Fuck it. Sensi Pessina. Left wing, Caprari. Right wing, Churia. Striker, Petagna. Probably the most defensive fucking player out of all those. And then at the back, Izzo. One of the most offensive centre-backs that there is in Italy. Gets very, very involved. You see him running down the wing at times. This is a very, very frightening team to play against. And then you look at Empoli. They are a team that is designed to hold possession and to slow down play. Bandinelli, Marin, Akpa-Akpro, and then they have Shore, Baldanzi, and then 2 strikers who are fantastic with their back towards goal, Satriano and Caputo.
Yeah. And they do play very neat football, Empoli as well. Itzo is another shout, by the way, for the national team.
He is
31 years old. It might be his time.
And it's been years, man. Itzo has been good for years. He was top at Torino.
Yes, but then after Torino, he had a time where he lost himself. You know?
He can be quite inconsistent in long periods. So he has like a very good season, then he has a bad season. It's never like he has a good couple of games and he has an off day here and there. He's consistently very good for Monza this year, though.
Yeah, he's a protagonist on this team for sure. Think about what Monza can achieve in 5 years' time.
Sky's the limit, man, I would say. Now, of course, they have also had their struggles this season, but guys, this is a team that was promoted this year. You know, and they're a team that it's their first time playing together. I mean, Petagna, Caprari, Churia, Pessina, Sensi, Izzo, Di Gregorio. These guys have never played football together before. Mario on loan from Arsenal. And they've really managed to gel together. And they're using Raffaele Palladino as a manager, staying true to, their caretaker manager who's had good performances, beat fucking Juve in his debut. And I mean, the sky is the limit for this team. Now, I know that they have a lot of players who are in on a loan, but I think they have the cash to trigger any of their clauses and to keep them in the team.
And with their pedigree at the moment, even if those players do go, they could loan in a fresh batch of talented players and actually work with them. Palladino has proven to actually be very good at developing these guys.
They have Rovella as well.
They do, bro. Fucking hell. They're a really, really good team. The sky is the limit for them. Well, perhaps not the sky, but that Conference League spot in the next 5 years might represent the sky for this Monza team, who currently sit in 11th with 32 points, while Empoli sit in 14th with 28 points. They could really use a victory, Empoli, in the coming days. It's been a while, since that Inter game.
Yeah, they really, really can, man. The next game we're going to be covering is Sassuolo 3, Cremonese 2. Totally different to the previous encounter, which ended in a 0-0 draw. We know that Cremonese were coming in hot form after beating Roma, their first win in Serie A. Starman Domenico Berardi was suspended for this match for Sassuolo, but Lauriante was back from his enforced absence, whilst Ferrari was suspended for Cremonese and Aiwu was out with a thigh injury. Sassuolo played their classic 4-3-3 formation with Consigli in goal. Consigli, apologies. Rogerio, Ruan, Ehrlich and Zortea formed the back four, with Henrique, Lopez and Frattesi forming the midfield three, and Lauriante, Pinamonti and Defrel all playing in the attacking third. For Cremonese, it was their 3-4-2-1 formation with Carnesecchi in goal and a backline of Kirikes, Bianchetti and Vasquez. They had Ser Nicola out on the right and Valeri out on the left with Piquel and Benassi in the middle. Afenadjan was the right winger, Okereke left winger, and Tsaju, your boy Tsaju, up front.
Hit the post, huh?
Yes, sir. In the 25th minute, Lauriante netted a free kick from just outside the area as he managed to get the ball over the wall with great power. Carnesecchi will be disappointed that he couldn't keep the shot out as it was a very central strike. However, it was hit with a lot of power and he didn't see it coming over the wall. So, I don't know, still should be doing better, but brilliant strike by Lauriante nonetheless. In the 41st minute, Lauriante intercepted a weak pass in a dangerous area and carried the ball forward. After a few coming together with defenders and an interchange with Lopez, Lauriante backheeled the ball to Frattesi, who finished on the turn. That's already a goal and a contribution by Lauriante. In the 62nd minute, Cremonese's long balls forward finally paid off when Ehrlich's attempted clearance fell perfectly to substitute Dessers, who finished past the oncoming Consigli. That was terrible defending by Ehrlich. The ball was coming right at him and he headed it literally direct to Dessers, who had no problem finishing over there. 2-1. In the 71st minute, Maxime Lopez produced a goal line clearance avoiding Cremonese's equaliser, as Cremonese were really piling men forward over here. And then the 82nd minute, Carnesecchi's hoofed ball forward landed to Dessers, who rounded Consigli before finishing from a tight angle. Once again, the defence of Sassuolo, way too shaky. It wasn't one person's error this time, but just shaky defending all round.
Yeah.
And then, in the 91st minute, Lauriente provided a perfect cross with the outstep of his right foot, which was volleyed in first time by Bayrami for a fantastic goal for his new team, getting them a victory, a very hard-earned victory over Cremonese over here, as he's replacing their key man. A very, very, not even a fair, but Sassuolo started the game off brilliantly. Cremonese came out in the second half brilliantly, and then Sassuolo managed to prevail and their experience allowed them to get that goal in the 91st minute. But you look at the stats, 54-46 possession in favour of Sassuolo, 13 shots to 13, 7 on target for Sassuolo, 6 on target for Cremonese. This was one hell of a game of football. I was very disappointed not to see Cremonese get the point, but fuck it, Sassuolo continue their very, very highly improved streak. Brother, I'm going to start off. I cannot stress how impressive this Armand Lauriante is. Much better than Raspadori and Traore, who they lost and they thought it was detrimental that they lost them. But they really found a solid ass fucking replacement and upgrade over here. I'm going to go so far as to say, here we go.
Here we go.
Should Leao not extend his contract at Milan? Who? Noah Lang? Who? Saint Maximan?
No, man.
Look at this guy.
Messi, dude.
Look, what?
Obviously, you go for Messi or you get Chiesa, man. Come on.
Bro, stop it.
Never speak to those guys.
Yeah, of course. I worked in catering for so long with these fucking casuals.
The Meladoc player, Messias.
Bro, international audience.
Oh, yeah. Right, Messias is not a good player, man. You have to buy Chiesa.
This guy's gonna fund it. Like, do you not think at all, you fucking imbecile? No, Leao, if he doesn't extend his contract at Milan, I would not mind Lauriante being discussed as a replacement.
But after this season, Lauriante is not going to go for cheap. He's 24 years old. He looks like a baller. You know, when you look at the league's top 3 wingers at the moment, you're going to see, okay, so it's Kvaratskhelia this season, probably takes the cake as number 1, debatable, controversial. Leao would be second, right? Perhaps. I mean, people have different opinions on the matter. So it's Kvaratskhelia and Leao first or second, give or take. And then you have who's in that third slot. So if you're looking at purely wingers, so you're not taking Kostic, for example, into consideration, it'd be Loriente.
Absolutely. Yes, for sure.
I mean, I struggle to think of. I mean, then you have the likes of, for example, left wingers.
I mean, Dybala plays out on the left sometimes, but not
Pedro
really.
sometimes, again, on the left. But again, these guys are the staples, right?
But Loriente, for sure.
Yes, when it comes to sheer technical ability, goal contributions, Loriente is up there, man. He's having a fantastic first season in Italy. Can you imagine this guy next season?
And it's not only because he got a goal and 2 assists in this game, because, by the way, he got a goal and 2 assists, and each one, the goal was super. His goal was great.
Yeah.
I mean, free kick, he can do that as well, apparently. He backheeled the ball to Frattesi for Frattesi to get the second. And then that assist to Bayrami, just whenever I see these travelas or whatever the hell they call them with the outstep.
Yeah.
Beautiful assist. Really put it not on a plate. I mean, see it have massive Bayrami balls to hit that in on a volley first time and execute it the way he did. But wow, really, really great performance by Loriente.
He's hit 10 goal contributions in 18 games this season with 5 goals and 5 assists.
With a team that was struggling so much at the beginning of the season, for most of the season.
Yeah, a team that was a potential relegation candidate.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Now, the fact that Sassuolo got all 3 points in this game shows how far they've come this season. Cremonese just got their first win against Roma and the momentum was fully in their favour after Dessers got the equaliser, but they were capable of keeping their cool and they managed to get all 3 points. Now, that comes with experience. It's not just a run of form. Sassuolo, for them to be able to concede 2 goals, be 2-2 against Cremonese and not crumble, takes a lot, man.
It really does. It really does. To get that last minute winner, that was quite impressive.
Yeah.
You look at the fact that Sassuolo have 30 points and Juve in 7th have 35.
Bro.
Like they have an objective they can actually aim for. It's quite crazy. It's quite crazy.
What a league, what a league, what a league.
I mean, what a league. It's because it feels like these guys have been slipping up since the beginning of the season.
I mean, anyone can get relegated this season.
Exactly.
You know, anyone can get Champions League.
The bottom 3 in the league, you have Empoli, Udinese and Juventus. They have
Bro, Sassuolo are still terrible defensively, though.
No, of course.
They are still terrible defensively. Incredibly error prone, both as a unit and then their individuals. Like they're just not set up to keep clean sheets. And Consigli hasn't been at 100%. There's nothing could have done in this game, but he hasn't been at 100%. And they're incredibly leaky, man. In that area.
If I were Sassuolo, I'd take a punt on Cranio. I'd try to bring in Cranio and rejuvenate his career. When it comes to the centre backs, literally any of the teams that get relegated take their centre back. Anyone. Any of them are better than your guys.
That's true.
I mean, Tresoldi or whatever his name is nothing special. Ehrlich seems to make a mistake every game. Ferrari's past it. They do need new centre backs as well.
Absolutely, man. Carnesecchi. So here's the thing. Young goalkeeper.
22 years old.
Up and comer. He is going to be a star, right? This is his first experience in Serie A with fucking Cremonese, who concede so many shots. 2 of these goals in this game, brother. Lauriente's free kick, quite central, and Bayrami's volley could have done better. Yes. And it's not the first time we said, he should have got that at his near post, but he's young. Should have saved that, it was right at him, but he's young. Should have saved that, but took a bit of a deflection, but he's still young. Now, again, his ceiling is very high, but should Cremonese experiment a little bit with Radu, who was having good performances for them, barring that one mistake, or should they keep Carnesecchi on the pitch for as long as they can to maintain that young Italian talent?
That's a good question. Carnesecchi, I believe, is not owned by Cremonese.
He's on loan from Atalanta.
Exactly. Yeah. So the fact of the matter is that Carnesecchi is a good shot stopper overall. Now, the fact is, when you play a 22-year-old over this stretch of a full season, you are going to see mistakes. It could be the hottest talent, it could be a generational talent. You look at Donnarumma, for example. No, Donnarumma was an incredible shot stopper for Milan, and he did make mistakes that actually lost them games. Carnesecchi is going to face many shots in games, and he is going to make mistakes at the moment. Is Radu error prone as well? Yes, he is. So you might as well just play the better shot stopper, no?
I guess.
In Carnesecchi. I don't know. I don't see him as that bad. This was probably his worst performance of the season so far. And it's funny because it's the game that he actually got an assist in. So he actually contributed to a goal, which is very unlike a goalkeeper to do. But of course, it was not enough to actually call this performance a good one.
Yeah. And I think as well, like you can't really have rotating goalkeepers because you're playing with both their confidence. Look, you're both not good enough to start. You're both kind of ass sometimes, but you're both kind of good sometimes. So yeah, I'm just gonna rotate you. That doesn't really work, does it?
Not really, bro.
So yeah, I still think that Carnesecchi has a very bright future ahead of him. Just had a bit of a bad performance. Cremonese are full of fight, but you can tell that it is nothing more than a good spell, really, as they lack quality and experience all round, to be quite honest. And this is evident when you look at this match and the Torino match, where they get themselves in a good position and are unable to maintain it. The Roma game was a bit of an exception, where they got that late penalty and they converted it, and they have a history against Roma. But yeah, Cremonese leave a lot to be desired.
And I would say they lacked experience coming into this mostly, because now you look at a few of these guys, they're natural leaders. You look at Vlad Kirikes at 33 years old. You look at Benassi at 28 years old. You look at Bianchetti at 29 years old. And even the rest, they're not that young, like Okereke 25, Valeri 24, and Vasquez 24. So these guys actually have developed their team as the season has gone by to be more of an experienced Serie A unit, but I feel like at this point it's a bit too late for them.
Yeah, they are very improved, and that's what sucks, because I said that the Torino match and this match showed it, but they are finally getting in those situations where they find themselves in good positions in a game, something that they couldn't dream of in the past. And they're playing better, but they're just not good enough, in my opinion.
So if Cremonese win the Coppa Italia and get relegated, will there be a Serie B team in Europe? Is that how it works?
Is there someone you can call to give us this fucking information, man? Yes is the answer.
Yes, right.
Yes. I mean, those are the rules, so I don't think they should be bent for anything, really.
Yeah, that would be mental. I'm going to confirm that, by the way, and in the next episode I'll say if that will happen or not.
You'll forget for sure.
Probably. Sampdoria 0, Salernitana 0. The previous encounter was a Salernitana 4-0 stomping. Weird, Nicola didn't get a promotion that day. Now, Sampdoria haven't drawn any of their 7 league games against Salernitana. There have been 3 victories for Sampdoria and 4 losses. Crazy. So this was the first draw that they had. You look at these stats, sometimes they either prove to be completely consistent or they prove to be record-breaking. Salernitana have won each of their last 2 games against Sampdoria and Serie A before this game. They never won 3 on the bounce against a specific opponent in the top flight before. So they had their opportunity over here to make it 3 against a team, but they did not manage, of course, as it was 0-0.
Yes.
Now listen to this very interesting stat, bro, before we get into the game. Salernitana averaged the most touches in the opposition's box in Serie A this season.
Salernitana.
That's probably Piontek just not shooting. And speaking of, Piontek is the player who has attempted the most shots in Serie A in 2023 without scoring so far.
Not shooting my ass then.
Yeah, he had scored 3 goals with his previous 17 shots in the competition, so things are not going his way, Piontek, who's playing well off the ball, but has been very wasteful as of late.
Yeah, I guess.
Now, we saw a bit of a different Sampdoria side this time without Dero and goal. Amione, Nuitink and Zanoli were at the back, without Gello on the left, Leri on the right, and Rincon and Harry Wanks in the middle. Sabiri and Cuisance were playing behind Jesse. Are we calling him Jesse?
No, Hesse.
I don't want to call him Hesse personally.
Why Hesse?
No, what's the matter, Hesse?
What's the matter, Hesse? Why Hesse?
Well, what's the matter? Cholo, you want to go?
I want to go.
Okay. Jesse Rodriguez, yes. Jesse Rodriguez played up front. We spoke about Jesse Rodriguez potentially changing Sampdoria's season. He looked lively, but he doesn't look quite fit yet.
Just another nanny.
He's just another Nani. So Ochoa was in goal for Salernitana with Danilulic, Gyomber and Pirola at the back. Sambia was on the right and Bradaric on the left with Koulibaly and Chernigoy in the middle. Castanos and Kandreva playing off the shoulders of Piontek.
Pum pum.
Yes. This game was a 0-0. Of course, we saw a couple of interesting opportunities. Cuisance getting close to scoring. One of his shots was fucking incredible.
Two attempts, man. The two attempts were brilliant.
I'm really impressed by Cuisance. He really seems to have upped his game from his Venezia days, and I do think that he's a very hot talent nowadays. I wonder, is he owned by Bayern Munich still?
No.
He was bought by Venezia?
He was bought by Venezia for like 3-point-something million. I believe, in fact, it was a big deal because they spent money. Venezia spent money. And he was only a bit cheaper than they had spent on Henry.
He's still owned by Venezia, in fact. So that's an interesting player who will definitely be up for grabs considering Venezia's situation in Serie B, where they don't seem to be getting promoted anytime soon. He's a player who has featured for the France national team all the way from under 16 to under 20. He's a player who has had appearances for Bayern Munich and Marseille. He is a player who obviously has a lot of talent. You look
nifty
at his
footwork, man.
Very nifty. And you look at the likes of Sabiri, Cuisance, Hesse, that doesn't look that bad. That doesn't look that bad at all. Yep. So Sampdoria, who do leave a lot to be desired at times, actually don't look too bad on paper at the moment, and even in game can actually do some things. Ochoa, once again a wall, saving many opportunities. At one point earlier on in the game, Castanos released Kandreva with a brilliant through ball, and Kandreva decided to cut in on his left foot instead of just shooting with his right. And that was he displayed a lack of confidence, which isn't something I'd ever thought I'd see with Kandreva, who's always looked so confident when it came to his shooting ability. But watching him cut onto his left and just giving Audero time to recover and to actually come out and block the shot was quite sad.
Yeah, it was very beta.
Yeah. Yes, Leri, Augello and Zanoli all tried their luck to score, but it was all in vain for Sampdoria. Yes, that's what I was trying to say. Sambia once again delivered a very good free kick. It was saved well by Ochoa, and Bradaric tried to capitalize on a samper at the end of the game, but failed. So yes, bro, I don't know if there is anything you'd want to add from this. It seemed to be a lower tier dogfight, which was hard fought, but with no fruition. You look at the possession stats, Sampdoria dominated for the most part. When it comes to shots, he had 9-10, but no one really deserved to win this, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm still scratching my head over why Dia hasn't been starting. I know that he is or was recovering from an injury. I think he's fine, bro.
He's
Sousa.
fine now.
I think he's fine, dude. I think you can bring him on.
I don't know what the hell he's doing, Sousa, man. Well, why the hell wouldn't you play Dia? He brought him on at one point, yes, sure. But this guy was one of the protagonists of the Sampdoria team this season. It's the Salernitana team this season.
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Absolutely. He's their best player. Yeah. So their most dangerous player, and he should be being utilized. On the other hand, Sampdoria, another failed opportunity for them to get 3 points. Are they gonna fucking get 3 points under Stankovic because they leave so much to be desired? I'm gonna go out and say that they're not gonna get 3 points under Stankovic so that they get 3 points in the next game.
That means next game they're winning, dude.
I'm just saying this for them to get a victory. No, they are more likely to actually get a victory.
Yeah.
But man, they're just not a team. They're not much of a unit. You know what I mean? Now, obviously, their performances have gotten better, but a unit capitalizes on a game like this, a relegation dogfight against Salernitana, where Salernitana, it's not their best performance on paper. They need to be more dangerous. They had a couple of attempts through Cuisance, who turned wine out of water in this game. I mean, that long range shot from the right hand side, the curling one, just over. And then at a point, someone hit the post. It landed to Cuisance, and he had some really nifty footwork. No, sorry.
No,
there was a save.
Yes.
Then Cuisance got the ball, did some nifty dribbling, and then he hit the post.
Exactly. But it was all offside, so yeah.
Yeah, but they can't rely on bringing in Jesse Rodriguez. They can't rely on Sabiri. They can't rely on bringing in Cuisance. To me, Sampdoria are a failed system this year.
Yes, and they've been going downhill now. When you look at there's an expression in Maltese. I'm not sure if it translates in English. It's the fish rots from the head down, which is very true, because you look at Sampdoria's problems, they stemmed from the top. Now with Ferrero, who actually attended this game, by the way, the former president who declared bankruptcy, the former Sampdoria president. He's still, I believe, the Sampdoria president. He was also charged as a criminal. I think he did time where you never know how it is with these guys. But he received a severed pig's head as a death threat to his door, and his reaction to that was to show up to the game. Veramente, he's a beast. He's a beast.
He's a beast. He's a fucking crook.
Yeah. So, by the way, we were talking about Cremonese before potentially winning the Coppa and getting relegated and playing in Europe. Apparently it happened in England once in 2013-2014. Wigan won the FA Cup. Yes, they won the FA Cup, and they got relegated and they played in the Europa League for the first time.
That's fucking wild, bro.
So can we see that happen with Cremonese?
Wigan wondrous.
Come on, dude, I really want that to happen.
Same. Rooting for Cremonese. Come on, Cremonese.
So yes, I'm going to conclude this game. There isn't much to say. Sampdoria sit dead last with 12 points, as Salernitana are in 16th with 25 points.
The next and final game we're going to be covering was another 0-0 relegation dogfight. This time it was between Spezia and Verona. The previous encounter was an away victory for Spezia with the score of 2-1. Now, Simone Bastoni, Emil Holm, João Moutinho and Zoet all missed out, while Verona were without Miguel Veloso, Aydin Hrustic, Milan Djuric, Ceccherini and Thomas Henry. They also lost goalkeeper Lorenzo Montepo at the last minute due to flu symptoms, so Simone Pirelli made his Serie A debut. Now, Spezia lined up in their 4-3-3 formation with Drangowski in goal and the backline of Reka, Nicolau, Ampadu and Amian. They had Agudelo, Ekdal and Burabia in the midfield, with Giassi, Inzola and Verde in the final third. On the other hand, Verona played a 3-4-1-2 formation with Perilli in goal and the backline of Magnani, Hien and Coppola. Davidovic probably is fucking dying like.
Yeah.
Faroni out on the right, De Pauli out on the left with Tamez and Duda in the middle. Lazovic played in the attacking midfield role with Cyril Ngonge and Gaich up front. Cyril Ngonge!
No, I forgot to whip out the soundboard for this episode.
You did forget.
No problem, I haven't updated it. For the next episode, I'll hit you up with a few new ones.
Amazing. So there was another early blow for Hellas Verona as Cyril Ngonge went off with a sprained ankle after just 9 minutes, and he was replaced by Yaya Kalon. In the 68th minute, Yaya Kalon used his pace very well to find himself clean through on goal, but Drangowski made himself big and denied him a rare goal. In the 73rd, Nzola hit the post with a header, and Giassi had penalty appeals waved away as he just lost his balance when battling with Perilli and Hien for a loose ball after a deflected shot, but it was enough to get Spezia goalkeeper Federico Marchetti sent off for dissent from the bench. I mean, the guy just screams dissent, with his comments, and
He thought he was on Blessing's Instagram over there.
yeah, literally. In the 88th minute, Amiens Kerder looked destined for the top corner, but debutant Perilli produced a magical stop to keep the sides level at 0-0. Spezia dominated possession with 69% to Verona's 31%. They had 20 total shots, only 4 of which were on target. I mean, as opposed to Verona's 11 shots, 3 on target. I mean, Spezia did look like the team that were going to get something out of this, no, bro?
Yeah, man, they had the most opportunities this match day. Perilli came in and had to deal with a couple of shots over there. He made, I believe, 4 saves, 4 decent saves as well at that. And Zola went mental this game, just shooting, trying to get the goals in. But yes, man, and it wasn't actually Nzola who shot the most. Nzola hit the post, but you look at most of the shots, they came from the right side actually, with Verde, Bourabia and Amiens. They were all having it. And even Jazi, I believe, had 3.
Yeah.
So it was a dog fight at the bottom once again. Spezia have been quite impressive with Semplici, the way they've turned their style around to become more of an offensive team, a team that actually creates opportunities.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
It's crazy how every manager has a different position for Kevin Agudelo.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. You know, when someone doesn't see anything with you, just think of yourself as Kevin Agudelo, bro.
But at the same time, they see everything in him.
That's what I'm saying, brother. That's what I'm saying.
No.
As in, it's the metaphor of it.
No, sorry, I didn't get it. Perhaps I'm too...
You're not romantic
I'm too
enough,
dumb,
I
man.
think.
I'm just dumb.
Are you surprised at all by the 0-0 result in the build-up to the game and because of the actual game itself?
In these games, sides tend to take a more cautious approach, and what surprised me is the manner of the 0-0. I didn't expect Spezia to come out guns blazing like this. And it to end in a draw, you know, when you look at the amount of chances there were, especially when you look at a direct encounter between 17th and 18th, a draw would be a good bet to make in a game like this, I think. Both sides, for opposite reasons as to why this happened.
Yeah, exactly. I think Spezia came out wanting to, I think both teams wanted to obviously either catch up to the other or get a 6-point gap between, but I think Verona were more open to the idea of a draw coming into it and saying, look, we'll live to fight another day, but if we increase the gap from 17 to 18 to 6 points, then, you know, we're in serious danger.
Yeah.
I think like this, Verona live to fight another day.
They do.
Spezia are still in danger. You know, even with Salernitana Sampdoria drawing 0-0 and Cremonese losing, nothing has changed in that department. So there's still the opportunity for Spezia to get relegated, for Salernitana to get relegated, for Verona to survive, or for Verona to get relegated. But yeah, Spezia really came out looking for that victory though. And I think they scared off Verona a little bit and they decided, okay, let's sit back and make sure that we don't fucking lose this
Especially
game.
with the early exit of Cyril Ngonge, they were like, fuck it, we're probably not going to score here. Even though they brought on Calon, who isn't bad.
Yaya Calon, he's fucking rapid, man.
He is, he's really fast. And by the way, Alfonso Gaich, again, good player. Nowadays, 24 years old. I did think he was a bit younger, but has a good future ahead of him.
Absolutely. Perilli really came in clutch for Verona in the final moments of the match. A great save. He'll be proud of that.
Yeah.
And I mean, another relegation dogfight, a bunch of chances, but the 0-0 result means that everything is as it was. Spezia on 21 points in 17th place, Verona on 18 points in 18th place, averaging a point a game now. Quick maths because I'm a genius.
There we go, bro.
There we go. Okay. Done and dusted. Another
bro.
episode.
So while we were recording this, Lazio lost their Europa League game to AZ Alkmaar. The former Milan player Kerkez scored. He's a left back. He was a Primavera player for Milan. He celebrated doing the Theo phone call celebration.
Okay.
Yeah, so maybe
Shade.
he's his idol over there. Do you think that Milan and Inter will go through to the next round?
So Milan, they both have the 1-0 advantage, no?
Yes.
Remind me, bro, who are Inter against?
Porto. Come on, bro. Porto got a red card in their game. It was, what's his name? A good player for them. Fuck, can't remember.
You know, I don't think they go through, man.
Otavio.
I don't think. I think Inter can get a draw. I think Milan are gonna struggle a bit against Spurs. I think Inter go through and Milan's debatable. The best Milan could do is try their best to keep a clean sheet. I think Milan will go out very defensive in that game. 3-4-3, black 3. Just fucking Tonali and Bennacer.
I see him starting Kier. I see him starting Kier in the Champions League like he did in the first leg.
A bit of rotation as well, maybe.
Look, for me, I can't see Milan keeping a clean sheet. But the way that Milan play in the Champions League, the way they're so inspired over there, I think Milan will go and get a draw and go through to the next round. I'm going to be optimistic over here.
And I'm going to be pessimistic and say that Milan lose 2-0 and both goals come from set pieces or corners.
Oh, God.
Because Spurs, bro, are good from set pieces.
They are good. But
from set pieces, they're great. And Milan are bad from set pieces.
Inter, I think, will also get the job done against Porto. Maybe a draw. Porto away from home are no easy feat. They have Otavio off, who's a big loss for them. And I think Inter will actually go through to the next round too. Perhaps that's too optimistic to have two Milan sides in the quarterfinals.
Maybe. Tune into our Instagram, guys. We'll be posting a bit of content of us watching. Milan Spurs, as you know, we are Milan fans, so that's the game we're going to be watching and reacting to. We will have the other games on our laptop with the fellow Italian teams just to keep tabs over there. But I had tune in, engage with us. We'll even obviously have a chat and we can stay talking and stuff. But yeah, talking football, obviously. I mean, if you guys want to get personal, you up, and you want to talk about something on your mind, we're here. We're your friends. You know what I mean? If you don't think you have someone to listen to you, holler at Serie A Spotlight. There we go. We'll talk. Lend you an ear. We always reply. Always. Ask anyone who's ever messaged us. We always reply. Yeah, send us a message. And you'll see if we reply. We'll reply. We'll reply. Absolutely. 100%. Love you all, guys. Don't forget to rate our podcast wherever you're listening. Send us voice notes if you want to feature on our podcast. And just follow us. TikTok, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. We've been Serie A Spotlight. Thank you for tuning in, and we love you all. Thank you. Good night.